Hello and welcome to Totally Oblivious. I am your host, Caleb Perez. I am here with co-host Alex and special guest Andrew Frey. Andrew, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's an early morning today to let you behind the curtain. Usually I'm not up this early.
None of us are.
Not on a Saturday.
But, I have to work later today out at the golf course. And I heard you got Alex here with a bribe.
Yes, I had to buy him donuts to get him to.
Well, I still would have done it regardless. I'm not going to be a dick. But, the donuts were nice.
And where'd you get the donuts, by the way?
At the grocery store.
Where?
Okay,
apparently
there's
there's shortage.
Different tiers of donuts here in our hometown.
Is this
okay,
the episode?
I got them from Harvest Foods.
Good. Yes, that is the good one. That's the good one. Because the other two, they're larger chains of supermarkets. I don't know if you want to name drop them or whatever. But their donuts, I find, are of lesser quality than Harvest Foods because I think they're a little more stale. They're a little less sweet.
That's a really good take. Now that you're pointing it out,
You right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, see, I consider myself to be a donut connoisseur of sorts, and when I have a bad donut or a donut of lesser quality, I notice right away. I say to myself, "Hey, this donut is not up to my standard," and my standard shouldn't be taken, anywhere professionally because it's my own taste, right? But again, I like myself a good donut. When you're serving me,
what qualifies a good donut though, Fry?
When you're serving me stale donuts, you're serving me like a hard outer crust on this donut, and it's not like a potato chip hard, but when it is harder enough where you notice like, hey, I have to like kind of crunch down into this donut, except for kind of like you can kind of like gnaw on it, right, and then it just breaks away for you, and you get the frosting on there all nice. But when it's all hard like that, it's of lesser quality. And I'm not saying you can't have a good donut when it's hard, but at the same time, the softer ones are better. And when you go to these larger supermarket chains, they're giving you the hard, stale, less sweet
Have you
donuts.
ever worked in a supermarket chain though?
No, I have not.
So I would actually debate that Harvest Foods, Leprechaun, doesn't matter. That I think they all get them frozen, so I don't think
Do they really?
Yeah,
yes,
they do actually.
Because I would always see
At
the
least
girls.
Harvest does.
Yeah, the girls in the back. I'd have to ask one of them. I could maybe later if I ever do to answer this question for you. Is they do get them frozen, but it might be the meal prep that's different that quantifies quality because they get up really early for whatever reason. The girls will at the crack of dawn that's the first thing they do and prepare before anything else.
Yeah, specifically at Harvest, they make them
On
fresh
Sundays.
every morning. Every morning they make them fresh.
Yeah.
So I don't know if some stores like prep throughout the week to make a bunch of donuts.
Yeah.
Now, do they get the dough frozen? Is it just the dough? And
dough's
do they have
frozen.
to shape it and bake it there?
I think sometimes I've seen the
Okay.
girl. It depends on what like a frosted donut or something. It depends.
Yeah.
But usually with maple bars, they'll usually maybe have the maple on them, if I remember correctly. But I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, sure. And you know what? I'm saying that the donuts in town we've got here, those are the best at Harvest
So
Foods.
what are we
Now,
thinking about the donut shop that's going to come though?
I'm excited.
Do we have a donut shop coming?
Yes,
Yeah.
you didn't hear
No,
about that.
I haven't heard about this.
Over where the old Taco Time
Time
used to
was.
be by Walgreens.
Oh, that's going to be donut
yeah, that's a
shop.
donut shop now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just opened this morning. I was
Oh
gonna,
wait, are you dead ass?
I was gonna try to get you guys some of those donuts, but
It
I
was
was like,
full?
that line's gonna be way too long.
Yeah.
and
Did you even attempt?
I slept in till like 7:45, and I was like, yeah, because they first opened at 8:00. And it was like 7:45, and I was like, do I really want to drive all the way down there just to wait in a
No.
line? And I was like, no, I
Not on
don't.
opening
I don't want.
day.
I don't want to do
You're gonna
that
fight all those
for.
white moms.
I don't want to
to
do that for donuts.
Yeah, you're
it's
going to be a
donuts.
sea of minivans
Yes.
that you're going to wait behind.
I'm like, do I get any special credit because I'm buying it for a podcast? Well, my son is hungry. Don't you look at my starving boy? And he's just like this pudgy kid in the back seat, just like
Who's going to a soccer game?
He's going to a soccer game, not his soccer game.
No.
Somebody else's.
Somebody
soccer game.
else's soccer game. And she's like, my darling boy. And he's like, I just want to play Fortnite. It's
He wants to play Fortnite and eat donuts.
like,
It's an interesting combo, bro.
Fortnite and
Fortnite
donuts.
and donuts.
Is
Honestly,
Fortnite still big?
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
it's still huge.
It now it has started. If you're not up to date, it has started now having anime collabs with some pretty major animes. So yeah, it's still I had one with Spider-Man too a while back.
Yeah, back in December.
It's still alive, well and alive. Kids
Now
are still cranking
are
90s.
they doing these collabs just to keep themselves alive, or is it to?
It's kind of almost like a status symbol now, like low key though.
Yeah, I think brands come to Fortnite to put their own stuff on there because it's like easy money for them.
Once Marvel showed up and was like, put Wolverine and Iron Man in there, all of a sudden everybody and their mom was like, okay, hold up. If Disney's doing it, we got to do it too.
Because Indiana Jones is getting added to the game now.
What 9-year-old even knows about Indiana Jones these days?
That's a good question.
I don't
He's
think
pretty.
so.
I think the last movie came out in probably was it 2006
with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
that movie sucked.
Like none of
You're
the
right.
none
That
of
movie was
those
awful.
none of those
You're
kids
right.
were even none of the kids who play Fortnite were even alive to see that movie.
To see the Crystal Skull. You know how sad that is?
That is
kids growing
so
up not
sad.
knowing who Indiana Jones is these days.
I'm gonna be honest though, I'm the odd one out here.
Alex
I'm not a
doesn't like
big fan of
Indiana
Indiana
Jones.
Jones.
Well, you don't have to be a fan, but you can know who he is. Have you
Yeah.
seen the
Yeah.
movies?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've
well
seen
then that's fine enough. You don't have to enjoy the
Which is
movie.
weird. I've watched all of those, but there's certain media franchises that are huge and super really good. I haven't even watched them. I watch a whole bunch of mid. I'm
think-
like, all right,
I
cool.
think the funny thing is, I think the Crystal Skull's the only one I haven't watched.
Really?
You're not
so.
missing much.
I think
Not
that was the
missing
one
much.
I've watched the most out of all of them.
Really?
Oh, no, that's why I don't like Indiana Jones.
But I remember watching those original ones when I was like 10. I went through like a movie marathon with my dad, and I'm like,
You gotta go through them again.
maybe I have to.
The-
I'm like,
the
where,
first one's
where are
so
the
good.
lasers?
Yeah.
Where are the where are the cool things? There's just a whole bunch of people in robes.
Well, I think I see your problem.
We're the Jedi in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jedi.
It's like I saw Harrison Ford. I'm like, where's his lasers?
Hey, where's Princess Leia? I mean, come on.
This is
What are we
dumb.
Where's Chewie?
But at the time I was watching that is when I got into like anime and stuff, and I was like, man, I'd rather see Goku blow up a planet or something. So I just moved on.
Well, that's all well and good,
guess, I
but
guess.
you know, there's something to be said. You know, Indiana Jones really was the pioneer of the adventure movie as we know it
Yes,
today.
yes.
You know those movies like that new Uncharted movie that just came out with Tom
Yeah,
Holland,
yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Wahlberg. I thought that sucked, but there would be no Uncharted, not even the game. I don't think, without Indiana Jones because it was the first
That-
one
yeah.
to do it.
I
Would agree
that is
with that. That's a
I would
base
agree.
take. Base takes in the morning with Fry.
Let's just
I've
go.
had two base takes now about donuts and now Indiana Jones.
It
Where else
is right.
is he gonna
though.
go from here?
It is right.
We could go to plethora of directions.
See, my brother, I guess I'll keep my brother's will intact here. He wanted to talk to you about sports, and I think Caleb can.
I
do it
actually
too.
did too. Because I thought it'd be a perfect to segue into this. I thought it'd be perfect because you're pretty big into sports, as anyone can see with your Mariners hat on.
I'd
and
say baseball predominantly,
Baseball
a little bit of
predominantly.
golf, basketball, basketball, football, hockey. I'm not really that into, unfortunately. No, I'm not. And-
Really?
Yeah, really. I know, and it's strange because the common sports fan in America these days is all about football, football, football. I want to consume as much football content
Wow,
as I want.
did not expect this. This is insane.
ESPN has a daily show they air throughout, 365 days a year, throughout the summer when there's no football news happening. An hour long, or maybe it's more, NFL Live. They have it every day of the year because people can't get enough of their football content.
That is interesting.
And the NBA was on a rise for a while. Until about COVID hit, I think, is when it finally tapered off. And there's a whole bunch of political stuff that we shouldn't get into of, how they were doing such and such, and, half the country doesn't agree with that, and then they, whatever.
Yeah.
So it turned a lot of people off to basketball, I think. But baseball is really, it hasn't had many political statements, many controversies like that. It's really just been this staple game that's been going on for, a century and a half now, if not more. And I've been a baseball fan all my life, and it's just still fun to watch.
Yeah.
For me, Oh, and horse racing.
Horse
I don't know if
racing.
you guys watch horse racing.
No.
way. Where's my mom? She would love you.
Oh my
She
gosh,
was
that's
here.
hilarious.
I am a big
You
horse
bet?
racing
No
fan.
way.
When I go to the
We have
west
to go
side
on
of
an
the
adventure
state,
with Fry one of these days.
to
on a
the horse
race.
racing track over there, I do bet. And the last time I went, I bet the exacta box, which is where you pick the first two horses. I got it right. And one of the horses was a 10-1, but I went down to the stable. See, when I bet on horses, I have to go see them. And I go down there to
Give
the
her a good
stable,
pat.
And I don't look at the odds. I don't see the odds. I look at the horses first. And once I see the horse, and I get a good feel, I get a good feel of it. I think this horse could have a shot at winning this thing.
Yeah.
And so when I get a feel for the horse, then I check his odds and I see what he's going for. And if he's a bit of a long shot, but I like the way he looks, I'm going to bet on him. And so I bet on a 10-1 horse. I don't remember his name. And he finished second. And then I think the favorite won, who I bet on. And I won $160 just from the one bet. And throughout the other races of the night, I lost.
You know what my Mexican family members would do with $160 on a Saturday night? That's just insane there, Frey. $160 isn't to scoff at.
No, it was.
You can do some wild shit with that.
It was a great bet. He handed me $100 bill. He handed me a 50 and a 10, and ended up spending half of the 50 and 10 on the races after that race, which I won. And so I ended up, at the end of the night, I was plus 100. I had $100 that I didn't have coming in, and I said, you know what?
Frey when I gamble.
I need to come back. Although at the gambling table, I'm not so good. Playing blackjack. No. Garrett's the guy I need to talk to because he always said all memorized.
We played poker with Garrett
a while back.
And he took your money, didn't he?
No, we didn't play it for bets.
Okay, Garrett is the craziest man
He's
I've
a
ever
memer.
seen.
He's a meme.
He was like $10,000 in debt on the
an imaginary
on the
debt with Ruben,
and then somehow came back from that.
Of course, yeah. You can't give that guy an inch because
so
he will
funny.
take a
mile.
A mile. Yeah, is that saying?
That's the saying.
Okay.
No,
yeah,
we need to get Garrett on the podcast, but he's always busy. It'd be fun to have him.
He is busy. Yeah, he's out there saving lives at the pool. Lifeguarding
with Ethan.
With Ethan,
with our good man Ethan Bunk.
Ethan's Ethan Bunk. Yeah, you're right.
Ethan Bunk.
He's a lifeguard too, but Garrett's brother Ethan also works at the pool. His younger brother, and he's the head grounds crew guy.
No way.
Really? And so there's a bit of a feud, I think, and I don't have all the scoop on this.
There's a rivalry
between the lifeguards and the grounds crew. And so Garrett likes to call Ethan because he's like the head grounds crew guy or whatever, the head pooper scooper. Because he's the guy who has to walk into the pool and, use his big old tongs or whatever and get the, the excrement, the grumpy, if you're Johnny Depp, out of the pool and bring that back and put it in a bag and all that stuff. So Ethan's a good dude, but to call him the head pooper scooper, that's kind of messed up.
That's kind of low, especially that's your brother.
Oh yeah, big time.
Adam right there. Don't trust your friends.
Yeah, that's
trust
right.
Your enemies.
That's right. That's exactly right. Now talking about horse racing, did you guys watch any of the Triple Crown this year? That'd be the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, or the Belmont.
My mom probably. I would come into the kitchen here trying to grab a snack, and my mom would probably watch it, but I didn't. I'm not sitting down and going, I think he got it now.
Okay.
I'm not that big into it.
So, did you hear about the Kentucky Derby winner this year?
No.
You didn't hear anything about
Fill us in on the drama here.
Okay.
Tell us about
so,
this
year, the Kentucky Derby, and I have to sit up in my chair for this because this is a good story. So, the Kentucky Derby is ran on a Saturday, always. And that Friday morning, one of the horses, who was one of the favorites, I think, had to withdraw. And so he went out of the race. Yeah. And so on Friday afternoon, they selected this random horse, and this horse called Rich Strike got into the field. Okay? On Friday morning, the day before the race, he was there at Churchill Downs in Kentucky, had no idea that he would be in the race. And so the day before, he gets called up and said, hey, you're running. You're in this race. And so, nobody paid attention to him. The broadcasters hardly mentioned him. They hardly knew his name.
Damn.
Right?
Underdog story.
And so his odds to win were 80-1, meaning if you put a dollar bet on him, you'd get $80 back, which is absurd in horse racing. You don't see odds like that hardly at all to win, especially in the Kentucky Derby. It's the second highest long shot ever, the second highest odds in the Kentucky Derby ever. And when they started the race, he was toward the back. And the two horses in front, it was Epicenter and...
that's a cool nickname.
Epicenter was the horse's name, and it might have been Skippy Longstocking was the other one. I can't remember the
horses have goofy names. I love it.
Or it might have been Mo Donegal who ended up winning the Belmont. Yeah, I mean, there's some great names, right? And we could look up the Kentucky Derby results if you want. But I know Epicenter was up there, and he was the favorite. Was Epicenter, and so Rich Strike going into the final turn, the final furlong, which is an eighth of a mile, is sitting in the back of the pack. He's toward the back, and all of a sudden his trainer his jockey Sonny Leone starts just whipping this horse, right? And they all do that, right? But I mean, he was really getting on him, and so Rich Strike comes from the back of the pack with an eighth of a mile to go. He comes from the very back, and he does a rail run, which you never see to take the lead. It's always you take the lead on the outside. He does a rail run on the inside, and his closing speed was just phenomenal. If you haven't seen this clip, it is truly astonishing. But he comes up from the inside on these two horses that are going stride for stride. I mean, they're neck and neck trying to win this Kentucky Derby. And Rich Strike closes in on them from the inside, wins it.
Gasp.
And
Let's go.
everybody goes crazy. I mean, because he's an 80-1, right? And if you bet on this horse to win, again, if you have a $1 bet on him, you get 80 back. But
Who was the drunk that spent $1,000 on him? I want to know.
Well, this woman who bet, I think it was the exacta or maybe it was the trifecta on this horse, won like $30,000.
Good gosh.
something insane.
That is amazing.
And so they asked her, and I'm paraphrasing her because I don't know the exact quote. They asked her, "Why'd you bet on Rich Strike of all horses? Because he wasn't even in the field yesterday." And she said, "I felt bad for him."
Insane, bro. She's insane.
Oh, but she's wholesome.
There's no way, bro.
Yeah.
She
So
won by
has
being,
luck. There's
she
no way.
won by being wholesome.
yeah,
There's
and
no way.
well, the funniest part of this was they're trying to figure out, the broadcasters are scrambling to try to find out information on Rich Strike because they didn't have any notes on him whatsoever because he wasn't supposed to win. He wasn't supposed to finish high.
Ghostwriter, bro.
And they're keeping the camera on him after the race. They're keeping the camera on the horse, Rich Strike, because I have to. He just won the Kentucky Derby. And so as he's getting led to the winner's circle, where he gets shown off and the big old flower wreath gets put on him and all this ceremonial stuff, he has to be led by another horse called a pony. And so Rich Strike, kind of showing you what kind of horse he is, as he's getting led by this pony, just biting this pony in the face. He's trying to rip its head off. Rich Strike is trying to eat the other pony. And it got so bad, and this was all on camera, it got so bad that the rider on the pony was punching Rich Strike in the head, trying to get him away from the pony.
This is
the Kentucky Derby winner, and he's getting punched in the head right after winning
you
the Kentucky
idiot!
Derby.
Stop trying to eat the pony! Stop it!
Biting the pony in the head, and finally gets calmed down, and he gets led to
I
the
think
winner's
this is a
circle
bit
and does all that.
excited there. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
This is awesome.
Yeah, but it was really great, and everybody went crazy. I mean, the commentator calling the race, he's really excited, gets really into it, and it's really fun to listen to. You have to look up this
I
clip
have
if you
to.
haven't
Apparently,
seen it already.
horse riding is gangster, apparently.
But he sees this horse coming up on the inside, right? And there's an announcer cam of him, and he's kind of just standing there telling you what's happening. And then he sees Rich Strike on the inside, and he gets up to the window and goes, "Rich Strike!" like that. Coming up on the inside.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Rich Strike.
It's like a Smash Brothers highlight. They all start getting up when he starts. Oh my god!
Yeah.
The combo.
The Wombo combo.
Wombo combo.
It's that
Oh
was
my gosh.
Evo moment 37 for them. Justin Wong. Whoa! Oh my lord!
Rich Strike.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude!
If you haven't seen this clip, it is a must watch because
have
it
to
is
watch
one
it
of the
later.
craziest moments in sports, I think, of the year. And so now I don't think I'm going to bet on the Kentucky Derby next year because who knows who's going to win this thing. There's 20 horses running in this race. But it was just great.
That's insane, dude. Like some random rookie. Where did he come from? Is there any knowledge on him? Is there a Wikipedia page for him?
There is a Wikipedia page, yeah. And his trainer, I think his barn burned down, actually, a couple of years before the race.
There's no way.
And he was just going to quit horse racing.
So this is going to get turned into a movie.
Half of his horses died in that barn fire. I mean, it was the saddest thing.
This is just an anime. You're explaining an anime plot.
Disney's Strike.
Disney Strike. Yeah.
You're explaining an anime movie. A horse and his friends died. The trainer is on his ropes. He sees this last horse, trains, fails to get into the Kentucky Derby. A horse fails to get in with the sheer luck of fate itself. The horse gets in, proceeds to do an insane combo against the other horses on a 80-1 chance. This is a Disney movie. You explained the Disney movie.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm pretty sure they're going to cut out the part where he tries eating the
Yeah,
pony.
of course. There's going to be some flavor into it. They might put a love interest in there, something.
The love interest is the pony.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. Did the horses talk too? Is this animated?
It could be.
No, you know Disney doesn't animate things anymore?
They don't.
Yeah, you know the reason why behind that? So during Princess and the Frog, when they were hand sketching shit, they were like, there was a lot of confusion between the animators and stuff. And for whatever reason, Disney doesn't have it down when it comes to 2D animation because there were like a whole bunch of problems. I think at the time Frozen came out like a little bit prior.
Frozen came out after,
and they were like, "This is so much easier." And so they, from what is known, they completely moved over to 3D because they were just complicated with animation. But then I hear that and I'm like, the guys in Japan and some of the smaller studios in Europe, they got that shit down. So what's going on at Disney with those animated movies? It kind of sucks.
It's being cheap.
Yeah,
it's
really
stupid. But
you ever realize that the bad guy in Princess and the Frog, I don't remember his name, is the same voice actor as the Arbiter from Halo?
I did know that.
Yeah.
It's
Isn't that
awesome.
crazy?
Yeah.
You got the Arbiter playing the bad guy in
That's
Princess
so
and the Frog.
cool.
That's
That
so
movie's
cool.
so good.
Yeah. It is.
It's
pretty
so
good.
underappreciated.
Yeah, Princess of the Frog goes hard. I'm gonna be honest. That's like, I'd say it's better than Frozen, but
There's a lot of movies better than Frozen, in my opinion.
I'm right there with you on that one.
there you go.
Overrated.
I mean, Frozen was just kind of a fresh coat of paint on The Lion King, if you think about it. And Honest Trailers on YouTube does a great job of explaining that. And I don't remember the specifics, but it's like the same story, but we're going to make it winter themed instead of, Africa themed or whatever Lion King was. Lion themed. Yeah.
There's a joke right there, but I'm not gonna touch it.
No. Gosh, thank you,
African
Alex.
culture, smear with some white people. Anyway,
back to the sports topic, because you touched on a part of sports that is kind of the reason why I like sports. I love betting on sports.
Oh, yeah.
I
think
have gamblers on the podcast.
I think I'm gonna start watching the Kentucky Derby just because that story. But also, when you're talking about the odds for this horse, Rich Strike, he's
180-1 or whatever.
80-1.
80-1.
The second longest odds to win a Kentucky Derby ever. And the
So-
Kentucky
Did he
Derby's been
win,
ran
though?
since the 1800s.
So what was the first then? What's the most highest?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I think it was the second highest. It could be the first highest. I'm pretty sure it's the second, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I remember it was 2 years ago when Washington was still the football team. Well, I think it was when they first became the football team. I was watching. It was like, I think mid-season, and they're talking about the odds for each team to go to the playoffs. And I think football team's odds was like 1 to 1,000 to get into the playoffs. And I remember looking at my brothers and being like, I really want to place a bet on football team to make it to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold,
They did?
They made it to the playoffs, won their division 6-10.
Yeah.
6-10 in their division.
Yeah. The NFC East is a joke.
It was so bad that like they're funny to make fun of every other year, but that year in particular was so egregiously awful for them, but hilarious for the rest of the league.
That's right. And they were so bad that year and somehow made the playoffs. And who was their quarterback at that time? Do you remember? Was that the RG3 years?
That was
I haven't heard his name in years.
Who was
dude. Holy crap!
He's the old quarterback for the Chiefs.
Oh, Kirk Cousins? Is that
Yes,
who it was?
Kirk Cousins. No, not Kirk Cousins.
Oh.
No.
He played for the football team
He
at
was-
one point, though, right? He
I
was the guy who
believe
walked back in the
so.
locker room and go, "You like that?
I believe
You like that?"
I believe he did. I think he was on the football team before the Vikings. But who was it? It was
it that guy who broke his leg?
Alex
Smith?
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith?
He
Was
was
that
the
his name?
quarterback that year. It was one of the greatest comeback
up.
stories I've ever seen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They went 6-10, made it to the playoffs, and of course had to go up against Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Well, you know.
But if I placed that bet, I would have won a 1,000-to-1 bet right
You
there.
would have, and that's a lot of money.
That's
to
a
win.
lot of money,
Yeah. And
especially with something huge in like those kind of sports. Because an 80-to-1 bet won that woman $30,000.
something like that, something crazy.
Imagine
So-
putting $30 on the 1,000-to-1 bet. That shit's insane. But don't they take taxes out of it though, or no? How does that work?
I think they do.
They probably
Pretty
do.
sure they do. Yeah, I don't think you get all of your bet. It's like when you win the lottery and you win like $8 billion, you're going to see realistically like half of that, like $4 billion. Now, $4 billion is a lot of money. Like, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
That's
And
insane.
no one's ever won billions of dollars on the lottery, but still, I think you get about like 60% of whatever you win, whatever they tell you.
That's still 60 to 40. That's still pretty good. It's better than Twitch. That's an inside joke. None of them understand. Twitch is a garbage site. Anyway, YouTuber and content creator comment aside, golf. This is a big thing. Apparently, a lot of our high school class likes golf.
Really?
Have you not seen LDC just go out there and play golf?
And
They go out and play golf.
They haven't played at my course.
Well, no, I see KV Dane sometimes does it. I see him.
KV's a good guy.
Yeah, they go play golf. At least a small portion of their group, but golf is golf kind of coming into the four-way here?
It has been.
I think it always has been.
And it kind of always has been. There was talk of it a couple of years ago. I mean, I'm talking half a decade ago. People were worried in the golf industry that golf's a dying game. Well, no one's going to go out and play golf because it's slow and it's boring and no one's going to watch it. But now that you've got some of the younger guys on tour, like Bryson DeChambeau is one of the big guys right now. He hits absolute tanks and wears the Poet's hat, right?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, what is this man doing?
Yeah, I mean, he's just jacked, right? But you get these young, exciting guns on tour, then, people see that, whether that's on social media or maybe they're tuning into the golf event or whatever. You see this and you say, hey, I can do that. You can't do that. No. But it makes you want to go out and try. So people go out and they start to pick up golf. And, as you age, right, you start wanting to play sports again, right? Because we all played in high school or middle school or something like that.
Okay. With me, though, I had to be in the moment. I have to be with friends.
Right.
Sports is a friends thing with me.
We all played games with friends, whether you did it, on an actual team playing for your school or you just did it in your backyard, whatever. Yeah. People play sports. People like to play games, right? Yeah. And so when you age and it becomes harder to, go shoot some hoops and ball up your friends, right? Or play football and you get tackled and then you break your leg.
You be the uncle months. And be like, I'm on both teams, but don't hit me.
Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
You go out and play golf because it's a leisurely game. It's 4 hours long. You can go out and you have like a 6-rack of beer all to yourself, right? And you have that. You get drunk. You play golf with your friends. It's a great time, right? And that's the appeal of the game. Now, hardly anybody is good. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Hardly anybody's good at golf. I'm not good at golf. I've been playing for a couple years. I
had the misidea that you were like some badass with it.
No, I'm not.
Fry's just good at everything.
That's what I thought. Honestly, honest to God,
no, I'm really not good at everything. I'm not really good at much, honestly. But I shoot in the mid 80s. Usually, I mean, it's nothing special. I can hit it straight. I can hit it far. I can't really hit it straight. I can hit it far. Can't really putt, and sometimes it goes left and right off the tee box, or left and right off the fairway, or usually it's the rough, left and right in the rough. And I make big numbers, but it's fun. It's a good time to go out there and just kill some time hanging out right on the golf course. It's great. Yeah.
I'd be the guy that drives the car and doesn't play the sport. That would be me.
You'd be surprised how many people do that.
Really?
Alex Caddy.
I know. I have never driven a golf cart, even though I live next to one.
Really?
Yeah. My uncle, when he lived here before he became a millionaire, he used to live in the corner of this little neighborhood, and he'd just buy and he'd go to the golf course. Yeah. And where he currently lives, he lives next to a golf course. My aunt hates it because he'll just be like, responsibilities.
Golfing.
Golf. Yes. It's good. Yeah. And the big news in golf,
and he won a tournament, by the way. He's not bad at all. Like he's kind of like a Goku kind of person. Like
he's just
not training in his case, but it's like, oh, golf. We'll just leave. 2 kids. I don't really golf. I might be, dramatizing a bit, but it's just like, even when I was living here without my parents, because this house is relatively new, it is actually younger than the story that I'm telling. Is that he would literally just be like to my brother and me, you guys want to go play golf? Like, he tried to get us on like it was like crack. He was like, you guys want to play golf?
It is crack. Oh. Once you start, you can't stop because it's just fun.
My brother's, if he was here, he'd probably be like, yeah, I wanted to go back and play golf. And I'm all like, what's wrong with you? We never liked this before with golf. Played once. Every now and then, it's like, oh, golf?
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's fun. You go out there for 4 hours, you whack a ball around.
That's 4 hours, though. I'd feel guilty. There's no way. In my conscience, I'd be like, dude, I could be like, doing something. Golf.
So I've never really played actual golf. I've played mini golf.
Mini golf was hard though.
I have not played like actual full golf unless you count Mario Golf as a full golf, but I don't think it's the same thing. But what I really like doing though is frisbee golf. Frisbee golf is very fun.
That is fun.
Makes you feel like Captain America the whole time. You're just like
yeah.
You do like Captain America though.
And just going a few rounds at the park over nearby here.
Right.
I used to do that pretty much every day, pretty much one summer.
Wow.
And
did you get good?
I decent.
You have a good forearm every time I see you. You swing pretty good.
I bet you do. You'd seem to be the guy that has the expert form like you see on the disc golf tour, which is a real thing. And you see clips of it sometimes.
Apparently that's blowing up. I heard a while ago Frisbee golf is like actually becoming kind of its...
It is. That and pickleball.
Pickleball, really?
Yeah. Pickleball is like the fastest growing sport in America.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy. There's a couple of... the pickleball had the U.S. Open, this like a couple of months ago. And there was a pitcher in the MLB who had just retired. And there's a story out about him going down to the U.S. Open in pickleball to play pickleball, right? And so he joined some other celebrities down there. Among them was one of the best free throw shooters ever, Rick Barry.
Okay. Why is
was
Rick
down
Barry
there
there?
playing in the U.S. Pickleball Open. The older guys.
Is it Smash Bros? Everybody just showing up.
Yeah.
This is insane.
It's incredible. Pickleball's a pretty easy game. It's kind of like tennis and ping pong mixed. It's like tennis if the court was way smaller and it's easier to get around. So that's why the old people like it, because they don't have to go as far.
Okay.
And that's why the big guys like me who don't like to run like it, because I can just take a step to my right and hit the ball, a step to my left to hit the ball, right? So it's really fun. It's really easy, and it's a good way to beat up on your friends too.
Yeah.
So
if we're talking sports here, I won't lie. If with me, I think I found my sports. They're lazy sports, but they're my sports.
The lazy sports.
Poker and pool.
do you watch the World Series of Poker?
I haven't, but I'm gonna be honest. I've been teasing myself. I'm like, oh man, I should watch some poker highlights.
Yeah.
I've been like, and I'm like, as of late, if with YouTube, it's either I'm constantly thinking about YouTube videos, doing YouTube or work, or just stressing about regular things. But every once in a while, in between me drawing or doing something normal, it's all like, I wonder how the poker community's doing. Like for a while, I was just watching YouTubers play poker because apparently that's a pretty major thing on Twitch. If you're not metabating or whatever, it's like, let's go play poker. And I'm all like, damn, I want to play me some poker, but I just never get into it. And I really want to.
So that's interesting, actually, that you bring that up, because I would not consider poker
a sport.
A sport, no.
Are we going to get into this debate?
I think we can get into this debate because...
Okay, is chess a sport or no?
I don't think chess is a sport. I don't think video games are a sport. Video games are not a sport. Esports are not sports.
That's why it's electronic.
That's why you have to have the E in front of it. You have to have the
qualifier
in there.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not real sports.
I guess technically, I would agree with it to a certain degree, but I think chess, esports, and that's a big ass genre of sports, and I even say to a certain degree, card games aren't sports in their entirety. They're kind of like their own subgenre. They're like strategy games, But on a high enough level, I would even debate on a high enough level of all of those three, I think they get far more complicated than a physical sport.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing, in chess, so this is a weird thing I know. Also, I almost got into chess, by the way. I was that close to being a chess nerd. That close. Just during like the pandemic and stuff, because chess is weird. And I figured out this game, and apparently these nerds, like I remember a podcast or two ago, nerds would go to insane lengths to do things. And apparently at one point somebody set up a chess maneuver where they put the queen or knight or something in the middle, and they had like a 21 pathway win lead. There was for the other opponent, it was impossible for them to win because they had set it up strategically. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you do that? There's no way in a basketball or a football, there's no way you can strategically set up yourself to you have no guarantee of winning. Even, you can, you get like a 70 to 7 point lead and maybe in like football or something, but like in chess, that's kind of insane to me. All those pieces, all those pawns, and like the probably massive amount of numbers and spots you can place every individual piece on both character sides is insane to me. I'm like, damn. I think with that reasoning alone, and some esports can be kind of crazy in and of themselves. Like, yeah, I wouldn't consider them physical sports, but they are a mental gymnastic game. Like those, it gets crazy. Chess is, I'd arguably say, almost as old as soccer. Like
I think chess is really old.
I think it is.
It's really, really old.
But
I'm like, damn.
I just can't. I can't put chess and video games and that kind of stuff.
Competitive video games.
In the same category as
football. I get you.
Like
I understand the
basketball.
argument, but like
It's I think there has to be a divide there because it's not the same.
I would say they're like strategy sports. They're like it's own. I would consider them their own thing. Like those games. I would even put it in those categories speed running because that shit gets wild.
Speed running is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. You know, I once saw a guy beat Super Mario Wii in like 20 minutes.
We're gonna bring back up the human limit speed run again.
It was insane. Mario. It was insane. You know, it takes me months to grind through. Not months. It takes me weeks to grind through this game, and this guy sat down and did it 20 minutes. Yeah, I know. It's insane. He knows every jump, every maneuver he has to make, and to memorize every single thing you have to do to beat a game in 20 minutes. That is incredible to me. That's an incredible amount of effort and time that went into this, all for a world record that he's probably not going to get paid for, right?
I don't think
for
so.
The clout.
Speed
running is just for the clout.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
But within that community, it's all like I have a 426 on Super Mario. Fuck you, bitch. That's what it is. It's just bragging rights, but it's cool bragging rights to that niche. It's like YouTube. It's like, oh, I have X amount of views and numbers. It's like, a normal person's gonna say that's a pretty big number.
Is that how you pick up girls at the bar? Hey, girl, I just beat Super Mario Wii in 20 minutes. Take me home.
If the girl from that niche is there, you're like, yeah, that's like, damn, that's a fast ass number.
Hey, babe, you want to know how fast I can beat Yoshi's Island?
I don't think there's a Yoshi Island speedrun video yet. You can probably do that.
There is.
You can be the first.
Oh, I can be the first.
You could.
Speedrunning is kind of big on YouTube.
I know the tech. You toss egg, keep egg, eat, and baby.
There you go. Caleb knows the route, bro. How old is the game? Because it probably does actually have a...
It came out in 96.
So the thing about those old video games is, especially with Super Mario, when I was talking about the human limit, I think the last podcast, is those games have been beaten to death.
Oh, yeah.
They know numbers.
That's right. Like Pokemon Red and Blue was beaten in like 12 minutes because of some glitch.
They have a glitch at the very beginning when you talk to your mom.
Yeah. It was nuts.
These guys are insane, dude.
Yeah.
Humans are crazy. They will just be like, I'm going to make a game for myself that has all this lore. Fuck that shit. I want to beat it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Yeah, and people, when games come out, like I was talking about Pokemon earlier, Red and Blue. When the new games come out, that's, the
first thing.
The first thing. It's always on Twitch, streaming new Pokemon game, right? And they have it beat within 24 hours. The first day, you can already find guides of how to beat it. You can find out
on Twitter
what you need to do. You can find out where the legendaries or whatever you need to get are. And it's insane because people have this figured out in a day. Like, you got to sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a problem with games now.
Okay, so question. So if we're getting to the enjoyment part, so sometimes on Twitter, so when Elden Ring came out, people have been figuring out some pretty massive tech. The Elden Ring game takes like 180 hours to complete if you do it correctly, even longer. There's a lot of story in that game. But what happened is it slowly, it went from 180 hours to like, I think like 8 minutes.
Oh my god!
I'm not sure. I think it's 8 minutes. It is somewhere in the double to single digit. They literally with those speed runs before a certain patch, every boss was optional till the end.
Really?
Yes. The only one you had to beat was the Elden Beast. That's the single.
Is that Galaxy Monster?
Yes, it's the Galaxy Monster. That is the only boss you need to beat. I think, if I remember correctly, and there might even be tech to where you can stand still, because I think this is before even the first patch. What I'm talking about is they got to 8 minutes during the second patch. Is with the first patch, you can glitch the Elden Beast, and you can just get some magic and just, I think it's the laser spell. You just laser him, and he just instantly dies. Like, you just have so much magic stamina, you can just laser him. So it's not even a boss fight. It's just tech, boss, boom, you're done. Like, people are insane. But then a lot of people, after these like 8 minute, 6 minute runs or whatever, is that a lot of people are like, why the fuck you doing that, man? Why you don't play the game? Like, all of Twitter was all like, what? Why are you doing that? Why don't you enjoy the game? I'm all like, you don't think they have?
I think that is how they enjoy the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I want to hear you guys' takes on this. When it comes to just regular speedrunning, is like, should you enjoy the game first? Or if you enjoy the game by just completely just fucking mashing through it, Like, you think that's a little bit wrong on like the developers' part? I'm just curious.
To each their own, I guess. And, I watched a video IGN put out, this was years ago, about the game developers of Halo watching a speedrunner try to beat the game.
Was it 1 or 2? I think it's 1.
I think it was 1. It was Combat Evolved. And the developers are watching this guy do it, and they have an intricate knowledge of how they design these levels,
Halo
right?
1's actually
and so
crazy.
He's going through walls and stuff, and they go, "Oh, he's not supposed to do that." And it's like an hour long of them just saying, "Oh, yeah, I can't do that. That's wrong," or whatever. But
what the heck?
That's so funny.
Yeah, and it was a great video, but to see how the developers intentionally designed the game and how they wanted you to do it, and then this speedrunner saying, up yours, I'm gonna go do it this way. It's kind of fun to see their reaction because they're kind of like, oh, I mean, what are you doing?
I kind of get it as a YouTuber because sometimes the YouTube comments are like, well, actually, so it's like somebody going through your game and just being like, fuck you. Yeah, I kind of understand it. But if there's a small niche community within your own community that just like, no, I want to beat your game at the fastest because we like it so much.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I don't really know if you can get mad at that. A little bit. You can be like, they're not enjoying the game how it's supposed to, but at least they're enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's fair and good.
So when I start a new game, like I think the most recent game I started, which is crazy to say, it was the new Kirby game that came out.
Apparently,
like 3
people are
months
gassing
ago.
Kirby. That game is apparently fire.
It's fun. It's a really fun game. But I know in the first hour of me starting it, I was already figuring out tech to move Kirby faster. I'd jump in the air and do an attack, and that would increase his speed. And I found items or certain abilities that made him go faster when he attacked in the air. So I was figuring out speedrun strats without even thinking about it because I was just Kirby kind of moves slow. Let me see how fast I can make him go. And then I was looking online because that game's just open. You can pretty much do whatever you want as Kirby. Mm-hmm. And people found this broken hammer ability that if you float to the top of the screen and do a charged attack, you can just bounce yourself out of bounds and beat the game like that.
No way. That's insane.
People are so crazy that they see one frame of something happening and they're like, something's wrong here.
I'm gonna be honest.
Just destroy the game.
So with fighting games, people will notice it. They'll swear to God, 1/60th of a second, people will notice things. Especially in the fighting game community, but some people when they call something out, wait a minute, you can do something with that. That's insane. Speedrunners are kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie.
They're almost own breed. Really.
They're their own.
They're
breed.
almost as bad as 4chaners. I'm gonna be honest. They scare me. They honestly scare me, dude.
There's some messed up stuff. That's where QAnon and all that stuff started.
Oh, we're going here.
That's what I took a class on this,
okay, no,
right?
this is Fry lore. Somebody get the Wikipedia page. Okay, before you go, Fry, I want to clarify this. I know one of you wants to do it. I want all our guests to have their own section. This is Fry's. This put in the lore. 4chan lore for Fry here.
Well, I took a class on this. It was the class was titled Conspiracy, right? And this was at where I go to school, college-wise. I took a class on this. And so what we learned was QAnon started on 4chan, and 4chan was originally 2chan, which was Japanese owned, but then the American owners took that over, and now it's 4chan, and then that got messed up, so then they made 8chan. Now that's all messed up. It's just all kind of perverted now.
Yeah, it's really bad.
But one day on 4chan, this anonymous Q Anonymous, who has apparently Q level clearance, whoever knows what that means, says it just sends this coded message, right? And everybody goes crazy because they think that Hillary Clinton's gonna assassinate somebody or anything like that, which it was not gonna happen.
No.
And
it's just a honeypot.
Basically, is what it is. It's these vague things that people just believe in, and then they don't come true, but they still believe it anyway. And they say it. They make excuses for
echo chambers.
And what happens on 4chan? It is incredibly easy to hack into your account, and so it is believed that at this point on 4chan, who hasn't posted as QAnon? Everybody now has hacked into the account. And they have figured out the password.
No fucking way.
Yeah,
my
and
gosh,
this
that's
has
so
happened more than a couple of times in recorded history. People have figured out this. He was hacked at this point, and this is a new person. But now the account has become so widespread, like a virus. Basically, everybody can post as QAnon. Basically, now, as far as I know, that's what I heard.
That's
in
the
class
lore. That's
anyway.
the fortune. Okay,
but
that part I didn't know.
I think that's my understanding too. Is that's what kind of it led to.
Right. Yeah, and it's great. And there's this big conspiracy about.
It has an
I think-
HBO special.
It
There's
does it
does.
really?
There's
I
a
was watching
documentary.
it for a bit. It was just like the people who are like run those like servers and stuff. They are the most weird people on the planet.
Yep. That's exactly
Like
right.
straight degeneracy.
And the guy whose server Q posted on he's some South African, I think, right?
That's insane.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he was down there in South Africa, and then there became the right to host QAnon on your specific server. And he won it because I don't remember exactly what he did, but I mean, he bought into it, and it's believed that he ended up taking over the Q account at some point, and he was Q for a little while, and then he got hacked, and then another guy took it
It's like a
over.
legacy title, bro.
mantle.
It's a
Yeah, it
mantle.
is. Yeah.
It's like the Avatar, bro.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
What
And it's
the-
crazy that some people on 4chan now still go around believing all of this
It's
nonsense.
so
I mean, it's crazy,
wild.
right? And there's a bunch of conspiracies out there like that. We talked about 9/11 and how some people think.
bro, I love Friday.
Some people think
You have
it was. Some people think it was an inside job.
Well, not to interrupt, but can you explain that part to me? Because I know some about it's an inside job, but like, what is the conspiracy theory there?
So there was two strings of main conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm,
Either that Bush knew about it and let it happen,
Okay, that one I
or
know.
Bush knew about it and made it happen. Either Bush did it or he knew about it and let it happen so he could go into the Middle East and get oil.
So what's weird about that is there's been cases where I don't trust the Southwest United States. I keep repeating this. Is that with some government groups, there's this weird line. It's like no one understands it. Like after a certain point, once you go down that line, it gets into the fucking weirdos.
You're like,
The CIA and the FBI have done some wild ass shit during the Cold War. So so there is some type of belief, even though I'm not saying it's true. I'm clarifying this. I don't think, but when Frey says people think they let it happen or they did it, there is some credence to it, even though it's kind of disrespectful to the survivors and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
And-
but there's like this about it. Like I don't know,
like,
maybe they've done some
there's
weird shit in the
loose
past.
ends that just don't
Yeah.
tie together.
Yes, and most of them have been explained away. There was a calculation people did about the time it took the tower to fall, and all those things like that, and basically can all be explained away. They've done many investigations.
There's so much
into
amount of
this.
math and science.
That's right. And the thing about math and science is you can get different answers depending on what variables you plug in based on the numbers that you're using, right? So it's very entirely possible that both people got correct calculations, came to different conclusions, but the numbers they were using are just a little off, right?
Off, yeah.
And so I don't believe it was an inside job. I think Al Qaeda and Osama actually
Probably did
said,
it, yeah.
we're going to blow up those towers, and then they did, and I think they regret it now because they're all dead.
Yeah.
Because we went and got those bastards.
Let's go, USA.
That's right. And there's actually a great clip, actually. I don't know if you guys have seen this, and it kind of goes back to sports. When Obama went on live TV and said, we just killed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
There was a Sunday night baseball game
Really?
going on during that time at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. And it was a pretty packed house at that time. And when they had heard the news that Osama had died, the whole stadium just started chanting USA. USA,
go!
like that. It was just incredible. And at a baseball game, America's pastime, you're eating a hot dog, you're drinking a beer. It doesn't get more American.
Couldn't
than
get
that.
more perfectly timed than that.
Oh,
That's
bro.
awesome.
That's right.
Post 9/11 was built different, bro. Dead ass.
That's actually another good story. The patriotism that swept the country,
Yes.
and being there for your fellow man or woman or whatever.
yeah.
We need that again.
Yeah,
We need more of
'cause
that.
I remember or I don't remember. I was watching the Tom Brady documentary, the Man in the Arena, and they were talking about how like 9/11 affected like everybody's like
lives,
and like how it like affected the football world because the football season had to start the week after that happened.
That's right.
And like the amount of like hope that filled that stadium that day.
That touchdown was
like,
insane,
really
bro.
cool.
That first one,
Really
it had
they,
to go.
They felt it. Like it didn't matter who won that game that day. I think the Patriots ended up winning that game too. So
Symbolic.
it made them feel like even like people were just. It was the Patriots versus the Jets, which is something that's kind of ironic. At
Boston
that
and
point.
New York don't like each other sports-wise.
Yeah.
It happened in baseball too. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
I've heard that one too.
There was the Mets and the Braves hate each other.
yeah.
The NL East, Atlanta Braves, the Mets.
My dad.
And in 2001, they were in the midst of a heated pennant race to win the NL East. And the season is winding down because it's September, right? So there's only so many games to go, and you're trying to get ahead in your division, which you can do easily by beating your head-to-head rival, which was the Mets and the Braves.
Let's go Mets, baby.
And so the first game back was 10 days after the towers fell, September 21st, I think. And the Braves were leading 2-1 in the 8th inning. And the Braves pitcher ended up walking a guy to bring up Mike Piazza. He was the catcher, and he was a home run hitter. And I don't know if you guys have seen this clip or whatnot. No.
I think my brother has. I think I'm trying to remember this.
In the bottom of the 8th inning, and the stadium is packed because it's been 10 days, and this is right
People need
where it
stress
happened.
relief.
This is in New York. This is at Citi Field. This is where the towers fell, right? People go to the game. They've lost loved ones. Wives have lost husbands. Children have lost fathers and mothers.
Tension is high, and they need to be relieved.
And it's a very emotional night because you had the firefighters, the policemen out there throwing the first pitch, doing the national anthem, all of that. And so with the Mets trailing 2-1 in the 8th inning, Mike Piazza comes up with a runner on and hits a home run to center field, and the place just goes nuts. And people are crying, just tears of joy because finally this home run, so much bigger than baseball, says, you know what? We are going to be okay because he hit a home run.
Yeah.
And people had something to smile about again because of a baseball game, which is one of the coolest things. One of the coolest things I think ever. And baseball just has a way of,
it might not be the popular sport. It might not be the best.
It might not be,
but it's moments like that.
It
brings a toy to a tear to.
It transcends. It's the feel. It transcends the normal sports, right? It has its moments that are beyond words, just magical. I think,
and I think that's really what makes sports like great. Is it's one like sports are one medium. Like video games, I guess too, but sports bring communities together.
That's right.
Like
big time.
even if you root for separate teams, like none of us here like the same sports teams, I'm sure, but we all can come together and be like, I appreciate basketball or baseball or whatever, and I think that's like there's not a lot of things that make people do that in this world.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Facts. Base take.
And the fans, I might hate the Yankees, and I might have a predispositional dislike towards Yankee fans or Dodger fans or whatever. But it's funny when some players in the big leagues or in the NFL, have rivalries with each other because that's funny to watch because the fans take hold of that. Yeah. And they back their guy, even though that guy has no idea who the fans are.
Who are you?
Random fans.
I will die for this man.
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, aren't most of the players like friends? Like, hey, how's the wife? Oh,
outside, they're usually friends.
Usually, yeah. Although I will tell you this. This is one of my favorite stories. There was a pitcher in the 1960s. His name was Stan Williams, right? One of the better pitchers of the time. And back in those days, baseball used to be a game of frontier justice. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You hit my guy, I'm going to hit your guy. And it's not fun to get hit with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. That hurts. Yeah. That is no fun.
Yeah.
And so, people would get back at other guys who they thought had wronged them. If a guy in the olden days did a bat flip, Well, people might just come out of the dugout and fight him when he's rounding the bases, right? If there was an example, and I'll get back to this story in a second. There was an example I heard of. There was a guy in the NFL who, after he scored a touchdown, he had planted a phone in the goalpost, and after he scored, this was a Steelers player, I think, went to get the phone.
My dad's teams.
He went to get the phone out of the goalpost and took a selfie or made a call in the end zone during the game after he just scored a touchdown.
Gosh.
And the analogy that I heard was, if a baseball player hit a home run and on his way to first took out his phone, there would be bats tomahawking at him from both dugouts, because even the people on his team know you don't do that. You don't disrespect the other team. You don't disrespect a game like that. And that definitely would have happened back. There wasn't cell phones in the 1960s, but that was the mood. You don't disrespect me, and you don't disrespect this game. And if you do, you're going to get hit, and your friend is going to get hit.
Even to a certain degree, the Japanese, they love baseball. It's to the certain point where you can't even spit on the field. Like
Really?
The Japanese are like crazy with baseball.
Baseball players are very proud, and they say, you're not going to disrespect me. You're going to.
I think you get taken off the field if you spit. I remember there was I couldn't tell you the name. There was an American player that did it because he was just, I'm overseas. Like, this is what we do. We spit on the field sometimes. It's the American thing.
All the time.
Oh, seeds all over the front. Yeah. No, the Japanese. No, you can't do that. Yeah. What do you mean?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Why? Yeah. You're disrespecting the field. What do you mean? The gods. What do you?
The gods.
No, you can't do that.
The gods have blessed this field.
You can't do that. This is they treat sport like, they think, bringing it back to esports. Even to that degree, there's a certain like elegancy with it. Like, if there's two men battling in some type of anything, there's a certain honor with it, which is really weird, and I love.
And if someone decides to teabag you, your dead corpse, you're going to try your best to get back at them.
You get offended by that.
I love Halo Reach when that happens. When somebody teabags you, it's on,
That's
bro.
right. You have to get back at them. Now, in baseball, the way you do that is you hit them square in the back, and you hurt them, and then you hit their friend right after it. And that was the way that happened in the 1960s. And Stan Williams was a pitcher, right? And so he kept a list of names in his hat.
That's
and
insane.
So a baseball reporter asked him, he said, "Hey, Stan, what's that list inside your hat?" And he said, "Those are the guys I got to get." And he says, "I got the list in my hat so I don't forget anybody."
Awesome. He has a hit list.
And so through his career, he ended his career, he got every single guy on his list, except for one. Wow. 10 years later, in an old timers game, he faced him. Stan Williams faced him, hit him on the first pitch.
No! That's awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
That's awesome.
So I get that feeling too, because sometimes I'll put like yard game sports, like
once it's on, it's on.
And like tennis and stuff. I like playing that on like the weekends with my brother. But like when it comes to croquet, my dad is super competitive with me and my brother Colby when it comes to that game in particular.
No, croquet
is serious. That's a man's game.
Gentleman's game. Gentleman's game.
Gentleman's game.
It's a gentleman's game. Get it straight. Yeah. So what will happen is me or my brother, or both of us, will be way far in the lead. Mm-hmm. And he will do anything in his power to stop us. And he will act like the biggest jerk through the whole game. And like we get my mom to play, and she's not very good. And my girlfriend Val and my brother's fiance was playing with us one time, and he was just mocking them the whole time because they were way far behind, and he somehow got in first. And so all three of us brothers looked at each other and were like, "We're gonna take this guy down."
That's awesome.
So my brother Colby, who always seems to win. He caught up to my dad, and they're like, you could feel like the tension. The two balls sitting next to each other. You could feel the tension, and I had full intent to get next to my dad and hit his ball and just launch him out of there.
Mm-hmm. As you do.
But my brother did it first, so I didn't get the chance, and then I took the lead, and I was right at the very end, like the last two rings that you need to win the game, and Colby caught up to me, and I was like, okay, because pretty much at this point, it was just like a screw you to my dad. We're just like, we're not going to let this guy win.
It's going to be one of us.
He was trying to catch up to nail my brother Colby again. Mm-hmm. And so I pretty much positioned my ball in the right position just so he could hit me and have a perfect spot to win the game, just out of spite.
And how'd your dad feel about that?
He was so mad.
Yeah, because you disrespected him.
He was so mad. But like, I guess here's the thing with me is if I feel you disrespected me in the game in a game, I'll find any way possible to not only to prove I'm better than you without saying it.
Yep, that's right.
And then like not disrespect you like directly, but to do something that you know I'm like to just dig under your skin and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes.
Sports are so like
It's just
not even that. It's just anything competitive.
anything competitive. Like you feel like if
you get teabagged in Halo, it's a war.
Yeah, it's a war. At that. But my favorite thing to do.
You want to fight someone in real life if you get teabagged in Halo.
That's so true. But I know when that happens to me,
and assassinations
in a shooter,
that too.
If I get teabagged, I'll make sure to like if I kill that person, I will just like act like they were like nothing. Just like don't even like pay attention to the corpse. I got the kill and I just leave.
Jesus,
it's like. I'm like, I'm not going to teabag this guy. He's not worth my time.
That's the disrespect. Once you guys start going at it and the person just stops and there's like a lead, you're just like, damn, he's won.
He's won.
Yeah.
It's something different.
It happens in all games. You know, you just, I think it might be a bit of a pride thing, maybe a bit of an arrogance thing.
Yeah,
you say,
definitely. You
will not disrespect me. And if you do this, I'm going to, beat you, kick you out.
It's a man thing.
It
genuinely
kind of is. It kind of is.
I see it with women too, but it's like, it's with all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
All three of us have a story. We all say, nah, I gotta kick some ass.
It's human nature. You want to succeed. You want to be
the
better
most
than
dumbest
somebody else.
Things, though. It's like not even out of like any. You don't get anything good out of it. It's
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the slightest.
Like I really do not care about winning. It's just as soon as I feel that somebody's getting like super arrogant with themselves, I just have to prove that I'm better than that person. You just have to
lay the tower down. Just
like I just
and as an old baseball coach of mine used to say, this was his saying: I don't care if we win. I just don't want to fucking lose.
Who said that?
There
That's
you
awesome.
go. There
That's
you go.
That'd be Coach Donnie.
Oh man, yeah.
He was great.
I just don't want to fucking lose. You can tell the fucking was metaphorical. like, God damn,
that's
dude.
awesome.
That really is.
Well, I guess to move along after going through the whole ordeal of how sports bring us together and how much fun we can have, let's tear this fun train down. Let's talk about
depressing.
No, let's talk about controversial takes with sports. So, what's your guys'? What would you say?
Soccer.
Do you already knew my question?
I don't know what
What's the most overrated sport?
Oh no, soccer. All my Mexican family members are about to beat me.
Are you asking in this town, in this country, worldwide, overall?
Worldwide.
Worldwide's got to be soccer because it's the most universally played sport and a sport where you can't even use your hands. Like you got to use your feet. I mean,
it takes a bit of skill, but it's just
it takes
a bit of, you're right, a bit of skill. It takes more endurance and it takes more physical strength to play soccer. But, you know, if you go around and kick a ball in your backyard around for an hour, you can go out and play in your local rec league, you know, and you'd be fine, right?
Yeah.
But if you play a more technical sport like a basketball, a football, or a baseball,
I'd say baseball. I won't lie. There's one quote I remember saying you to me, like the average, I don't know the actual statistics. I'm not a big guy, but it's like the batting percentages, like you're like the speed of lightning, like those guys will miss like almost a majority of their career. I'm like, and once I realized that, once I started figuring out the bigger words like lightning and like, you know, like the speed of it, I'm like, damn,
well,
baseball's fucking hard.
In the MLB, the best hitters ever, the Hall of Fame hitters, the Ted Williams, the Hank Aaron's, the Ken Griffey Jr.'s, you know, the Edgar Martinez, you know, that's because I'm a Mariners fan, I'm going to say Edgar. The Babe Ruths, you know, all of those guys, they failed in their careers to get a hit. They failed 7 out of 10 times. They only succeeded 3 out of 10 times. And the best hitters ever hit a career 300 out of 1,000. Right?
That's insane.
And
I realize those numbers now.
In a game where you can be considered the best ever and fail 7 out of 10 times, I mean, I don't know what else there is.
Kicking a ball.
So I don't know what other argument you need.
Different from throwing a ball
when it comes to soccer, I have to agree with you guys. I know it's weird to think because he's my nephew-in-law. I have to call him that.
Nephew-in-law.
Yeah, it's the
that work?
strangest. My niece's husband. So I think that would be my nephew-in-law.
Yeah, I
but
think so.
No,
he's
that
a
is-
huge
that is
soccer
correct.
fan. But I have to say, I think soccer is the most overrated sport.
Like it's the most
Like,
basic.
Yep.
it
Kicking
really
something-
has
Yep.
nothing like truly interesting that other sports wouldn't supply you with. It's just you're kicking a ball, you kick it into a huge net that I'm sure me speaking, I probably would not compare. I'm not saying I can kick that ball as good as anybody else, but it's like when you're looking at a lot of people at a high level playing that, it's just like it's
The
just
ball
not
doesn't even get to the end of the field most of
interesting.
the time. It's always in the midfield, right?
Usually,
No.
and they just go back and forth.
And the
back
field's
forth
too.
and
I'm gonna
back
be
and
honest. The
forth.
field looks too big for anything. It seems like I won't lie. In a weird sense, just like how chess hasn't had a buff in a very long time, probably since the Middle Ages, once the Queen started actually becoming a thing, which was political, mind you. That soccer hasn't changed. Maybe a few rules have, but like the base concept, a massive
Yeah.
field, 2 teams, centers, and your end spots. It's not interesting.
Not interesting.
Really not, because with the MLB, like sometimes the green giant wall, like there's certain
Every field is different.
every field's
in the
different.
MLB.
It's almost like a stage in a video game. Sometimes depend at Smash Bros. Sometimes there's good stages and there are bad stages.
Yeah.
But with soccer, it's almost the same field to my knowledge every time, 2 goals, and everybody's almost nearly positioned the same way, vaguely. So it's still like there's not much difference here. Vaguely, and I guess you can put football into that because those places are almost the same, but every team has a different strategy and players it's a lot more physical.
Football has a lot more physical like
aspects
to it, and it also has like a lot more like you have to strategize every play.
Even to a certain degree, golf is a little bit better because their
Golf-
fields are all messed up.
Golf is probably it's slow, but the concept of golf is probably one of the more interesting concepts because the course is like always different.
Have you heard Robin Williams talk about golf?
I have heard that skit. It's so funny.
I can't do justice, and I'm not going to try my Scottish impression right now. But if you haven't seen Robin Williams talk about golf, it's one you got to look up.
Okay, apparently I have to look this up.
But how they invented golf, however they did it, you're going to hit this ball 100
It had
yards
to be a
away.
drunk game. It had to be. There's no way.
8, not 20 times, not a dozen times. No. 18 times.
It's a drunk
Why
game.
18? Like, who came up with 18? And there's the different lengths of the holes, and there's the different shapes of the greens, and all of that sort of thing. And it's interesting when you go play a new course. When I go play a new course, it's interesting to see how it compares to the one we've got here, the one I work at. I really like the one we've got here. I think it's a great course. It's probably one of the best around. I think. I'm a little.
My uncle liked
I
it
might
a
be a
lot,
little
actually.
based.
No. To add to that, my Uncle Tommy, the one I was talking previously, even when he moved over to Tri-Cities and stuff, with that bigger course, he still's like, nah, like this one here is pretty bitchin'. Like he even says it personally. So take pride with
Good.
that.
Okay. Good.
So like he's won a couple championships.
Yeah.
He's won one, and he's pretty infamous. So like Tommy can be like, nah,
Uncle
like,
Tommy.
yeah, Uncle Tommy, like
Uncle Tommy.
yeah.
Uncle Tom.
He says it. He likes this course a lot. Anytime
Good.
he gets a chance, he'll come down there and be
Good.
like,
Yeah, and it's a good course. And when I go to other places, I kind of compare, how that is. We don't have much trees, or many trees, I should say, out here.
There's a little bit.
But then you go over to the other side, over the mountains, right? And you see, very
Evergreen.
tight fairways with
Yeah.
trees on both sides, and then every hole you're trying to whack it out of the trees, and that gives no fun. I like playing in the open field, in the open desert, and I can go and walk into the sand. There's my ball right there, and I just got to hit it out of the sand or out of the weeds or whatever. But out of the trees, I could.
There's
Do
differences.
that.
Soccer just seems too stale.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah, it's
a
very
little bit.
stale.
It's gotten
Like that donut
Very
we were
stale.
talking about earlier.
No,
Yeah, just
it's a-
stale. It's
it's
just
a
not
bad-
as good as other donuts. There it is. We
Very-
found our analogy.
the analogy from the beginning. There we go.
But even then,
Yeah.
I would even. I'm always the devil's advocate. I know some pretty big guys, or not big guys in terms of soccer that would debate, but like, well, no, but it's just. I'm not a big sports guy, but I'd rather literally watch any other sport than isn't soccer like over an hour? or something, right? Am I correct?
90 minutes plus extra time. So about
Jesus.
92 minutes, 93 minutes.
I know people say
plus
baseball's
halftime.
boring, but like at least with baseball, I see the players. They're not little like things on
Yeah.
the screen.
Little specs. Yeah.
Which one's Ronaldo? They all have the same fucking jersey.
But yeah.
Messi?
That's crazy. They went over to France. Like, what is it? His team like basically disowned him. That's just
Yeah.
insane.
Wow.
Because he was with Barcelona for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
Or was that Ronaldo? I don't remember who it
No,
was.
it's, the what is it? I think you might have been correct, Fry. I can't remember. But like the fact that he's been with that team since he was like 8, and they were just he became one of the biggest
Since he
soccer
was
players in the world. Fuck, they just literally like it's a Marvel scene. Throw him. They threw him away, and France picked him up. Are you fucking insane? I don't understand soccer a lot, but a man like Messi who transcends the sport in name just to be like, leave. That's no. You get that's like throwing away fucking not Peyton Manning. Fuck. Oh my god. Patriots. I'm forgetting names.
Tom
here.
Brady?
Tom Brady
The
away.
Bucks now.
The
Is it
Bucks now.
Bucks? Yeah, he is a
Like
Buck.
to throw him away, but he left on his own accord, right? There was
Yeah,
problems.
his contract expired.
And there's a few problems with Belichick, I think.
Yeah, but like the fact, but they literally threw him away. But Messi was no, I like you guys. Don't do this. That's wild. That's a sports tale in the making.
That's another
Yeah.
Disney movie right
That
there.
is
If it
another
has a happy
Disney
ending,
movie.
then you'll see Disney movie within the next decade.
If France wins it all at one, I think France picked them up. If France does something in like a Euro League, there you go. France now got something. That's insane.
Yeah, and he's getting older now. I don't think he's at his peak anymore, but
Yeah,
he's still one of the
definitely.
greatest to ever do it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so.
just wild. Throwing away. That's like throwing away Michael Jordan, dude. Or one, if not on the same caliber.
I think so. Yeah.
That's just who does that?
Jerry Krause tried to do that. He was the GM for the Bulls at that time.
That's true.
And
He
tried
did.
to, yeah.
He did try to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
That's
but
so
but have you not
funny.
watched the MJ documentary?
Yeah.
That
I
I won't lie.
I did. I
MJ's
think
fucking crazy.
I think
dude.
honestly everybody watched that. That was like a huge thing back in 2020. I think everybody was watching Last
Yeah,
Dance.
school had just been canceled, right?
That was
and,
the
and there
only
was
thing on.
there were no new shows. There was nothing. You were sitting at home. You couldn't go out. Everything was closed. You just had to sit at home and do nothing. And every week, I think it was Sunday nights.
Yes.
Two episodes, Last Dance came on, and everybody sat down to watch.
It was
Yeah.
so good.
It was good, yeah.
Just, those are good times because I remember being like, well, in like my own fantasy mind, I was like, everyone I went to high school died. I'm just playing Animal Crossing every day. What is there in life? And then that come on, and I'd watch.
Everybody had the MJ mentality.
Yeah,
I want to start going. bro.
MJ was
And
just
that's
like,
all I
dude,
needed. And I took that personally.
He put that, and I took that personally. But like that gave me like it pumps you up. It's just that same with all sports, really. Just anything sports, it gets you like pumped up. You want to like get moving, get doing stuff. You get excited just from the idea, and seeing Michael Jordan's his competitive mentality
Borderline
is
crazy.
insane
Or crazy.
Like somebody makes an offhand comment, and he will
I'm gonna drop
destroy
60
you.
on you, bitch. That's just insane.
Some baseball players are the same way. There's a
Yeah,
pitcher,
yeah,
one
yeah.
of the best in the game right now, Max Scherzer. He was with the Nationals for a long time. Then he got traded to the Dodgers last year. It was his first or second start, and he comes in from an inning. He gets out of a jam, and his new manager, Dave Robert, the manager of the team, the head coach, in other words, slaps his ass and say, "Hey, good job, like attaboy, like way to get out of the inning." And baseball players do that. Baseball players do that.
Yeah,
It's a very
slap-
common thing.
slap
Hey,
him on the ass.
attaboy, something like
Attaboy.
that. And Max Scherzer yells at him, and you can pick it up on the mic. Don't fucking touch me. This is his manager. Baseball players
Oh
are
my
very,
gosh,
very
I love
particular
that.
in what you can or cannot do to them. Bob Gibson was an old pitcher back in the 60s again.
Yeah.
Nicest guys on his days off. But when it was his turn to start, on his days he was pitching, you don't get in his way because he will fight you. He is getting locked in, just major locked. He can't have any distractions. If you'd even
I
talk
get it.
to the
I get
guy,
it.
he'd throw
Mamba
punch you.
mentality. Yeah.
I mean, it's the craziest thing.
Mamba
Gosh,
mentality.
that's so funny.
Max Scherzer just didn't want to be touched, because it screws with him. He has to stay
he has
laser
to be
focused.
Focused, like
Yeah.
Christian Bale acting.
Yeah, that's right. Christian Bale. There was another story about Max Scherzer actually, and there's a whole YouTube video about this. That's very interesting. He was off one start. He was throwing a lot of balls. He wasn't around the zone, and so his catcher noticed this, and so his catcher calls time, goes out to the mound, and to get him focused, he offered Max Scherzer a terrible fantasy football trade in the middle of the game, and Max Scherzer said, in other words, "Go fuck yourself," basically. And then he threw seven innings.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That's all he needed.
He's like the Hulk of baseball. You just have to make him mad.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy.
Rage amps in real life are fucking insane.
So
dude.
funny.
Making
Making
a human pissed off to the point where they just start fucking annihilating is wild. Yeah. I love that, dude.
And for guys like Max Scherzer, who was one of the best pitchers in baseball, he's probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. It doesn't take much, apparently.
No.
Don't fucking touch me. He told his manager that.
The manager.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh
it was
my
great.
gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I guess here's the next thing that we might
we unanimously agreed to fuck soccer.
we did. So maybe we'll disagree on this one. What is, in your opinion,
the best sport?
The best sport.
So okay, I'm not. Why'd you look at me like that? Okay, I'm not gonna.
I was looking to you for an answer.
Okay, well, no, there was a sign of like this guy's gonna fucking say
He's gonna say
Street Fighter 3.
Say something stupid.
I got poker.
No, so if I'm gonna go like actual physical sport, I'll go with Caleb's lane.
I'm gonna go with cheerleading.
Cheerleading.
Rugby we can talk about. But if I were to go off, I won't lie. As of late, the MLB's kind of been tickling my fancy.
You don't have to play that up to me here. You
Really?
can say whatever you want. I won't take offense.
No, as of recently, I get my haircuts in this house, like not even like 10 feet away, and my dad will just put on the MLB, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's because I've grown up a little bit, but I'm all like, hey, this isn't that half bad now looking at it.
Yeah.
And like it finally hit with me. I'm like, yeah, they're missing a whole fucking bunch, but I respect that they are literally taking the time and putting in the effort and skill to hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and possibly getting hit, and that shit hurts.
Or possibly get hit in the head and die, which actually happened.
That's happened?
It's happened. Once. His name was Ray something. I have to look that up. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No,
it's fine.
You can look it up. My brother would.
But I think I would have to agree with you. Well, I'm not going to agree with you. I'm going to say
you respect the
I understand it because as of recently, I've been listening to a lot of sports podcasts.
Really?
Or at least one. I've been listening to one, and they're talking about like baseball and like baseball or like sports stadiums. And I was thinking, I was like, I think watching a baseball game is something I'd like to do. I'm not the biggest fan of the sport.
I was too young to experience.
But wanting the want to go to a baseball stadium and just experience, because I feel like that's the way to experience baseball.
It is.
Watching it on TV, like
I was too young. I was too young to appreciate it.
Watching baseball in person, I think, is the way to go if I want to watch baseball.
Ray Chapman was the guy who got hit in the head and died. And you think of the game today where players are routinely going up and seeing 95 to 100 miles an hour. If you get hit in the head just the right way, that's lights out. You're done. You are facing death right in the eye every at bat, and they have the guts to stand in there and try to hit this thing that's coming at you.
Is the MLB the deadliest sport? Well, instead of combat sports.
No,
but
deadliest. I'm not sure.
No, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna phrase the argument here.
Surfing is probably the deadliest.
Surfing
really
is pretty crazy.
I don't know, 95 to 80 mile hour fastballs going off.
Sport fishing. When you catch a marlin.
Oh, okay, hold up. I take it back.
If it jumps out of the water, that you're done. So.
Yeah. Or like an extreme sport like, alpine skiing or the big old jump, the ski jump, whatever that's called. If you land wrong, your legs are gone, your torso's getting mangled.
Yeah, okay, now apparently I didn't have it correct. I'm now remembering all the other
so many sports
out there. Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with us as a species?
We like the thrill. We like the thrill.
Yeah, that's right.
Thrill hunting's crazy.
So,
but what you're saying about baseball, right? Going to the game and getting yourself a hot dog, getting yourself. We can't drink yet. Well, I can't anyway. I don't actually.
Are you 21?
No, I'm not. I'm 19.
Seriously. I'm older than you?
He's the youngest. He's born in August.
Yeah, August.
Gasp.
But, going to a baseball game, getting the food, right? You sit down, you take in the ball game, you see the sights, you see the sounds, you got the drunk guy behind you trying to heckle the team. Whatever. The last Mariner game I went to, we were sitting there, me and Logan, and there was a couple other guys there, but Logan and I looked at each other when this happened. The middle of the 6th inning, right? out of nowhere between pitches, this guy behind us just lets out a James Brown, just like that. So Logan and I look at each other like, what are we doing? What's this guy doing?
Oh my gosh.
What's up with all the guys doing that sound?
So
but it was
funny.
right on James Brown impression perfect.
Oh my gosh.
What's going on here? It's the middle of the sixth. Like, what's this guy doing? And you know, we had great seats, and you know, baseball is a slow game, and they're trying to do things to speed it up. And the season is so long, but it is a game where hey, you can tune into the game for a couple of innings and catch part of the game and see the highlights later if you want to do that. Or you go to the ball game, you get your food, you get your drinks, you hang out with friends, you go to the team store, you can walk around, see the big stadium, the Jumbotrons up there.
Aren't those stadiums like half of like a museum too sometimes? Because there's like a lot of like
most of them have museums in them. The
they're
Mariners
not
have
just
the
for the look. It's just like shit in them, which is pretty cool, I find.
The Mariners have the Northwest Baseball Museum, I think, which has a bunch of stuff.
Also, don't they have the Nintendo products too? Because they
might. I don't know.
I think they're owned by Nintendo.
They were at one point. I think they switched
were?
owners.
Oh, they did. Oh, okay. Because I knew at one point apparently they were like they would test 3DSs and have demos there. I'm like, wait a minute here. Baseball just got a lot better. I might become a Mariners fan.
Yeah. And in the museum there at T-Mobile Park, they've got some Negro League stuff that they had there, and the Mariners Hall of Fame is there, and really all the baseball history of the Pacific Northwest they've got there. That's
badass.
And it's really cool to walk through there and see everything. And you know, right as you exit, hey, you know, there's a hot dog, there's a Bavarian sausage, there's a jumbo pretzel, and there's some nachos. You know, whatever you want, they have it there for you, and they've got some great food there. The atmosphere at a baseball game, I think, is really unrivaled. I've been to basketball games, baseball games, football games. I haven't been to a hockey game, not an NHL game.
Oh, I'm a whore for hockey, though. I'm starting to get into that.
I do want to watch that too. Yeah,
hockey is fun to watch. But you know, at a football game, people are just going crazy, and there's drunkards everywhere, and it's go, and you have to quiet down at certain points when I went to a Packer game. Right. And
that's right. You did.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, it was really fun.
Cheeseheads.
And I'll tell you about the Packer game. My Uncle Bob, he was great. My Uncle Bob's fantastic. He's a great guy. He's got season tickets up on the club level. Mm-hmm. And on the club level, it's really nice. Like, there's carpeted concourses. There's like nice places to eat up there. There's like the Sky Lounge. You can go up there and drink beer, watch a game from up there. But they had this like food court in there, and you can get all these different types of really Wisconsin food, right?
Yeah,
cheese.
And so a lot of cheese, and I'll get to that in a second. But what they had was they had a bratwurst, encased in a pretzel bun. Like the brat was just in the pretzel, and it's like the most Wisconsin thing ever. And you can get it with the cheese sauce, right? And you go check out and you buy this, and then on the way back to your seat, there is just this table loaded, like a pyramid style, of free cheese popcorn.
That's
Wisconsin
awesome.
Wisconsin Badger cheese popcorn, and we took bags of the stuff. We put it under our arms, and we walked back toward the seats. And we had the cheese curds. Can't forget the deep fried cheese curds. So you got your cheese curds, and it's all deep fried, of course. You got your cheese curds, you're shoveling those in your mouth, and then you got your brat in a pretzel, and you're eating that, right? And then you got the popcorn to finish it off, and at the end of the game, you feel like you're just a fat ass, you gained 30 pounds, and you're waddling out of the stadium back to your car, and your knees hurt, your belly hurts, right? You got a headache from all this fried food you're eating, and of course, you're drinking soda at the same time. And, you know, all the while, the game's going on, right? And so sometimes when the Packers have the ball, the stadium tells you, hey, be quiet. Yeah, don't talk right now.
Shut up.
Quiet, please. We're trying to work here. And then when we went to the Packers-Steelers game last year, and when the Steelers had the ball, it was hype up central. Like, get loud. We got to interfere with the Steelers trying to get their signs to the quarterback, whoever, the calling audibles, whatever. So, but again, and it's fun. It's fun to be there. But a baseball game, it's slow. It's relaxed. You can go lounge. Go lounge in your seat and take in a baseball game. It's great.
Yeah.
I got me and Colton have to go to one, or maybe even you.
I'd go with you.
All of us go.
Yeah, I'd go with you.
So I went to my first ever Titans football game, or NFL football game in general, last year in September. It was Titans at Seattle, and that I will say one thing I regret is not having gotten any food, but I just did not want to have to go to the bathroom during the game. I was like, I already know if I eat something from the stadium,
It's game over.
It's coming to haunt me later. So I didn't eat, which is something I regret. But the atmosphere at that game, being the enemy in your own state, is something completely different.
People hate you.
I have not felt that.
You feel like a USSR
I have not
agent.
felt that energy since we were in middle school, being the only Titans fan and a sea of Seahawks fans. But it was wild because me and my brother actually met a couple who were both Titans fans. They're both from Washington. And we're like, whoa. And so we're talking with them before the game started. And this guy is like insane, just like hyped up for the game. And he's like, F the Seahawks, yelling about how much he hates the Seahawks. And his wife's like, calm down. No, stop. You're going to get us kicked out of here. This guy was already blasted drunk. It was 10 a.m. we rode the train all the way from Ephrata to Seattle.
Really?
We woke
Okay.
up at like 3 a.m. to
Whoa.
ride this train. So I was at this game on 1 hour of sleep.
Yep.
So I was just like, it's like a blur. I was like, what is going on? And so those guys were awesome. He even gave us markers in case we were able to run into any players to get our jerseys signed.
Cool.
Because I really wanted to, but we didn't get the chance.
No, sugar
And
daddies.
now the only Titan jersey that I had, every time I get a Titans jersey, those guys retire.
What do you have?
They retire or they leave the team. Marcus Mariota left the team.
Yeah.
I got Delaney Walker retired. And I was like, it was like 2 years before I got another jersey. And then AJ Brown comes on the team. I'm like, AJ Brown, he's such a good wide receiver.
Yep.
I got his jersey back in, I think it was senior year. And so it's been 3 years now that I had this jersey. Early this year, guess what happens? Gets traded to
AJ Brown.
Gets traded to the Eagles. And I'm like, man, I just really can't. I shouldn't buy any jerseys at this point, or else that player leaves. But anyways, so we didn't run any players. I didn't get my jersey signed or anything. But just the atmosphere at that game is insane. Like I said, being the enemy in your own state, odd feeling. Especially, I'm rooting for the Titans, and like you said, how they have the opposing team. They're like, yeah, just start yelling. They're making their plans. Yell, and it's like, I'm like, go Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. You know, you had a good team the last couple of years, right? But you had Ryan Tannehill captaining the ship.
Here's
how far are you going to get with Ryan
Here's
Tannehill?
my opinion. I think you can win games with an okay quarterback. You can win you can win a Super Bowl with an okay quarterback. And Tannehill's not the greatest quarterback, but I think he gets the job done. The problem is our whole team died last year. He was the only player on that team who was not injured that whole season. He played all 18 games that we played that season. He was in, our starter. Only one didn't get hurt, and he had one bad game, and people are blaming him for that loss in the playoffs. I'm like, he did his best all year. I don't know. I'm not going to blame him for that, especially watching him at that week 2 Seattle game.
Oh, no, I'm not blind.
He is a leader of men out there. Like, he might not be the greatest quarterback. He might not be your Tom Brady or your Aaron Rodgers, but that guy's a good quarterback. I will die on this hill.
Yeah, I was too lazy to have the thing in front of me. So, Andrew's here, by the way.
Andrew's here.
So.
The other Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
The other Andrew. So, yeah, now we have to refer to you as Frey.
That's fine.
But I do one thing to experience at that game that I will never forget is this absolute douchebag Seahawk fan that he wasn't originally sitting in front of us, but there's this family. I think I don't remember what team they're going for. I don't think it was Titans, but they're sitting next to me and my brother, and they had a bunch of little kids, and this dude was just like standing right in front of the kid the whole time. So that kid had no chance to watch the game.
Nope.
And the guy was like, hey, my grandson's trying to watch this game. Do you think you could sit down? And he's like, sorry, man, it's a football game. You're going to be standing. He's like, these are little kids. They can't see you. You think you'd want to at least let the kids
I'll play devil's advocate here. This is I'm an asshole.
You,
who brings children to those kind of games? I'm gonna be real. Like they're not gonna really enjoy the experience. I never. Really did.
Argue against that. I think they would actually. That's something that will take with them for the rest of their life.
I don't.
That's an experience that
I've gone to a few.
Well, you at least had stories that you went to a few. You might not remember it. You're not a big sports person, but maybe those kids are, and maybe
true,
they're.
But
into
I'm gonna be
sports.
honest. You got. With some stadiums, they allow drinking. It's like, dude, you're gonna put a child in that environment? Like that's a bit crazy.
So do family barbecues.
That's different. That's a household, and you got families and shit. You got some random. Okay, you know drunks. My mom just is leaving now, but my mom knows her relatives and how they drink and who they become. Random drunks are random drunks. That's like meeting a random dude and and gambling on what they can be like.
Like that random drunk Titans fan who was just yelling how much he hated the Seahawks, wanting to start a fight. But anyways, aside from the children, so this guy gets moved in front of me and my brother because we don't care. We'll stand if we want, if we have to. So we're standing for most of the game. And it was like this guy was being such a douche though about it. He was like every time something would happen good for the Seahawks, he'd be like, he'd turn around and look at us and be like, high five, oh sorry, and then like something bad would happen to the Titans, he's like, oh sorry, and then
that's just being
we're like
That's kind of funny.
we're like down 20, and me and my brother are just like watching the game just quiet. We're like, all right, we're just here to enjoy the game. And then the Titans start coming back. The Seahawks drop off and the Titans start coming back. And this guy just becomes absolutely quiet. And me and my brother are just happy with each other. Just like, yeah, we're winning. And then the game ends. Or like as the game progresses, you just see this guy get more and more mad. Like his face just gets red, how mad he is. And then the game ends and he's just like, good game.
Oh, at least he didn't shank you.
I was like, at least he was a good sport at the end.
GG's.
Oh man, but we were riding on cloud nine, leaving that stadium, winning in overtime, being down 20 points going into the second half. Yeah, and it was just like
it's a big time win.
Just walking out of that stadium, just like, woo, we won! And just going down that walkway, you felt like you were the champion, even though you didn't do anything.
Literally nothing.
We're just cheering as loud as we could. I swear you could hear us in the final kick when I don't remember who the kicker's name is.
I don't know the Tennessee kicker.
But he made that final kick to win us in overtime, and I swear you could hear us yelling in this amongst the fans. But
you're probably one of the only ones.
Yeah, we're one of the few yelling. So
everybody else is yelling, "Fuck
no!" And we're like, "Yes, we won!" And just the walk out of that stadium. I think the city of Seattle was even mad at us for winning that game because we're walking out to the square near the stadium where they have like a bunch of Japanese ramen shops. So we're walking there to get lunch. And it was just a downpour of rain all over us. Neither of us had like umbrellas or coats or anything. So we're just completely soaked going to the Japanese restaurant. We're like, Seattle's mad at us. The people in the city are mad at us. But we don't care. We won that game.
Cloud9, bitches.
You got to stay positive.
Cloud9 had a delicious bowl of ramen.
Yeah.
That was a good
I remember
day.
I think you Snapchatted me from that.
I did.
Place.
I was like, posting on my story like, yes, Titans. I remember everyone on my story being like, yeah, Caleb, we're rooting for you.
Really? Did you get support at that game?
I did get support. I know Bernal's girlfriend Miani, she was one of the
Dallas fan.
She was one who she Snapchatted me. Fan. She's like, don't worry, I'm rooting for your team. I was like, you're rooting for my team over your own boyfriend?
Fuck him. I love those relationships.
She's like, it's mine.
No, it's definitely
those are great people though. But yeah, great experience though. Honestly, one of my, I think, like, contrary to Alex, that's something I'm gonna take with me for the rest of my life.
I guess, but I never really. It's just a game.
But going back to it, Frey, would you agree with Alex that you think baseball's the best sport?
Oh yeah,
Or-
I think so. Yeah, and I'm biased.
I didn't do
on
that
this
for you,
one.
Andrew. Go. I enjoyed it on myself.
I'm biased on this one as well because I grew up playing
Yeah.
the game of baseball, and of course I had to defend it from all of the soccer nerds around here where we
Yeah,
grew up,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's really fun growing up around a team like the Mariners, even though they haven't been to the playoffs since I've been alive. But this year, I think they've got a good chance, and maybe even next year. But watching the Cubs win the World Series for the first time in 108 years.
Bro, I remember. Oh fuck, I remember that day. Everybody was like, "Bro, where's Fry? Where's Fry?"
That's
Yeah,
right.
because I had the Cubs
My
jerseys,
memory.
and I was very excited. And that Wednesday of Game 7, because it was the Cubs and the Indians at that time, playing Game 7 in Cleveland, and we had that Wednesday off.
And I think that's one of the few times I actually did watch a baseball game.
I did too. I
Like
try
that
to catch
was
glimpses of
something
it.
that was just like
That Game 7 is one of the greatest baseball games played in our lifetimes, maybe even ever, because it was an 8-7 win for the Cubs. It went into extra innings, of all things. Rajai Davis hit that 2-run home run in the bottom of the 8th inning off of Aroldis Chapman, who was the greatest reliever in the game in 2016. And this relatively no-name Rajai Davis goes deep, ties it up at 6-6 in the bottom of the 8th inning, and then the Cubs score a couple of more runs to win it finally in 10. And they were going to rely on Aroldis Chapman, the closer, to win that game, but they ended up having to go to relatively unheard of, I think it was Pedro Strop. No, it was Carl Edwards Jr. Carl Edwards Jr. started the bottom of the 10th inning. He got 2 outs, gave up a run, and then they called on former Mariner Mike Montgomery, the soft thrower curveballer, the lefty, the southpaw, to get the final out, and he got it. And I ran around my house because I was following the Cubs big time that year, and I was rooting for him because I'm not a Cubs fan, but it's hard. I went to Wrigley in my childhood where they play in Chicago, and it's hard not to walk out of Wrigley as a Cubs fan. Right, because everybody's there to support the Cubs. The Cubs is one of the best ballparks in baseball, rich in history. The fans are pretty great most of the time, and it's just hard not to walk out of there rooting for the Cubs. And I was there when I was a little kid. I've been back there in years since. I'm going this summer later back to Wrigley. In the time since, I've become a bit more of a Brewers fan, just because of one of their broadcasters, Bob Uecker. He was in Major League. The movie, he was on Johnny Carson like 100 times. Just a personality. He was in Mr. Belvedere. So he's a Hollywood guy, kind of. But he was a former player. Just hilarious. If you don't know Bob Uecker, you got to look him up. So I followed the Brewers a little bit, but at that time I was a big Cubs fan, and it was great when they won the World Series.
I want you to know this was so infamous. Even Andrew knew, and he wasn't even in the grade.
That's true. That's
like
true.
that's how legendary and hyped. Like Andrew and the Cubs fucking won, bro.
Because I wore a Cubs jersey, once or twice a week. I had a blue Chris Bryant jersey, and I had the white Chris Bryant jersey. I had 2 Bryant, and now he's with the Rockies of all teams.
Rockies.
But I really wish he would have come to Seattle. That'd be great.
Yeah. Like so, that was the hype.
Yeah, that really how legendary that game in general is me and my dad do not watch baseball, and we were sitting down watching that game.
I want to know what the views were on that.
Won. Won.
It got more views than Sunday Night Football did that week.
Wow.
And everybody tunes into Al and Chris on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
So can you explain to me? You explained it back in high school about the goat curse or whatever during
the curse of the goat.
Because you would always bring it up. You would be like, bro, the Cubs are cursed.
Yeah, they were. Well, if you believe in that sort of thing.
I love superstition.
I like this.
Really, you had to put on the Braves jersey in front of the guests.
Acuna, I like Ronald Acuna, but you're not beating the Mets this year. I'll tell you that.
Fuck the Mets. Yeah, Andrew just showed up in his.
Let's
go
home run,
jersey.
baby. Love the Mets.
I love the Mets.
Anyway, so the curse of the goat. So this happened the year after the Cubs won the World Series in 1908. So this was in 1909. Maybe it was 1910. So many years ago.
Yeah.
At Wrigley Field, it wasn't called Wrigley Field back then, but it's the same stadium, same location. This guy tried to bring in his billy goat into the game. He wanted to bring his goat to the game and watch the Cubs. And so the people at Wrigley Field said, "Well, you can't bring that goat in here.
That's against regulation.
You can't have the goat. Come on, get out of here, buddy." And so he said, basically, "Well, I curse you that you'll never win a World Series ever again.
What?
108 years later.
And, somehow that got traction and people caught on to this. And as the drought continued into the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they came close in the 40s. They lost at that time. The famous 2003 game against the Florida Marlins, in which the Cubs had a chance to put the Florida Marlins away in Game 6 of that series in 2003. And, the infamous Steve Bartman down the line. Have you heard about Steve Bartman?
No.
So there was...
Andrew probably knows.
The Cubs had a big lead. The Cubs had a big lead in the bottom of the 7th or 8th inning. And they were in a jam, right? And they were giving up runs, and they were in a big jam in the inning. And there was 2 down. 2 outs. And the left fielder, Moises Alou, for the Cubs.
Awesome name. I love
there's a pop fly. There's some great baseball names. We can get into that a little bit later. There's a pop fly down the left field line, and the way Wrigley Field is, there is hardly any room between the foul line and where the seats start. There's a couple of feet at most. And so Moises Alou was going over. He has a bit of a play on this. He's going to try to jump into the stands and get this ball out of the stands, make the final out, get out of the inning. The Cubs keep the lead. And so what happens was Moises Alou tries to go into the stands a little bit. He reaches up, and this fan reaches up to this Cubs fan, reaches up, gets in his way, drops the ball, doesn't get the ball.
Gasp.
But he interfered with Moises Alou catching that ball. Couldn't get it. Moises Alou, there's a big reaction. He slams his glove, and he stomps his foot, and he looks up, crosses his arms, and really goes, what are you doing? Right? Something
what
like
are
that.
you doing?
And so then he walks back to his position, and so then the Cubs go on to blow their lead, lose the game, lose the series.
Double damn, triple damn.
And the Florida Marlins end up winning the World Series that year.
Fourth damn.
And, it could have... Their season could have ended. The Cubs could have gone on to the World Series had Moises Alou made that catch, and it wasn't a routine play. But the guy who interfered with it, Steve Bartman, got in the way, and he was hated by Cubs fans. He had to get escorted out of the stadium because people were threatening him. They were throwing stuff at him, and so he had to get escorted out. He had to go into hiding, basically, because he was
in the nation.
Cubs fans were furious. He had death threats for years.
That's insane.
After that, he had to go into hiding. Nobody knew where he was.
Was he in the protection program? There's no way.
He may have been. They tracked down his mom's house.
What? They were doxing him.
They camped outside of his mom's house.
That's insane.
Finally, in 2016, the Cubs said, well, when they won, they gave him a World Series ring and said, let's let bygones be bygones. He didn't accept their offer to come throughout the first pitch. So he's still kind of in hiding his away. He doesn't speak to the press. He hasn't all this time. He's released one statement. Actually, it might be two statements in 19 years now. 2 things he said.
Leave me alone,
Basically. But he won't appear in public anymore because his life was ruined by something I think any one of us would do if we were at a game, reaching up to try to get a foul ball.
One small mistake completely
shattered
his
That's right.
life.
Yeah.
That's
and
insane.
so going back to the curse of the Billy Goat, that's how it kind of continued. And I think it was in the 80s or 90s, there was a black cat that ran across the field at Wrigley Field during the postseason, and everybody saw it and was like, oh no, here we go again. And then the Cubs lost. I think they blew a lead and lost that series. And so they really just had some bad luck.
But how much of that do you think is mental? That
all of
it.
All of
they
it.
think they're gonna lose, so
all
they
of it.
lose.
Yep. Entirely 100%.
I don't remember, this was forever ago. I went down a YouTube rabbit hole where superstitions like that. Technically, black cats, before Christian doctrine took over all of the Renaissance area, basically what was Rome, black cats were actually treated with good luck. And then, of course, black cats eventually were treated with witchcraft and eventually became a bad omen.
They were associated with the Black Plague, too, so they killed them all. And then that's when the rats came around and made things worse. So.
It's a big thing. But anyway, the idea of the superstition with black cats and just superstition in general is that there is a scientific, I forgot, it was some old-ass fucking PDF file, basically, where mentally speaking, if you have a superstition or if there is something holding you back, it will actually physically hold you back. There's you were fuck, I forgot. It might have been an MLB statistic, but it might have been an NFL one where like a player wasn't playing good because something with his wife or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was all like, yeah, no, there's problems here, and you're not going all out here. We got a problem here to fix. But it's all like it's a mental game too. I was like, oh damn, like Cubs fans being like superstitious. Like, no, it makes sense.
There was
to a certain degree.
There was an MLB player, and I don't remember his name. For some reason I think it's Nomar Garciaparra, but I don't remember if it was him or not.
That's a badass last name.
Yeah,
Parra.
it is. Garciaparra. Yeah. Well, that's his last name. His last name is Garciaparra.
Oh,
that's his last name.
That's his whole last name.
Nomar Garciaparra. That was his name.
That's wrong.
And I don't think it was him, but it could have been him. He was a Gold Glover, right? He was great at defensively. He had the same glove for a year and a half.
You throw away the glove, it
And
destroys the man.
One game in the middle of June, he makes an error, and without even finishing the inning, he throws his glove away that he's had for a year and a half, and he gets a new one in the middle of the inning, and he goes back out to his position. And so they asked him after the game, they said, Nomar, you've had that glove for such a long time. Why'd you throw it away? He goes, I made an error. It's done. No more glove.
That glove's done.
That glove is done. I don't want that glove anymore.
Gosh,
and he disowned
funny.
it after a year and a half of using the same one. And MLB players go through gloves all the time. They might use 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 even in a season, I think. Anyway. But baseball players have some of the goofiest routines. They wear the same socks. They do the same. They take a shower at the same time. They always have to use the same shower. They have to use the same stall. They have to do this, that, and the other, all in the hopes that it makes them better at home plate, which, usually it's not going to.
I get it. It's the superstition.
That is
right.
so
Yes.
funny.
Yeah. But
I think every sport has one.
So
we're crossing over a little bit.
We're talking a lot about baseball here, and in the terms of best sport, but I'm gonna actually have to disagree with you guys here. I'm not going to say football. I'm not going to say football.
Hockey.
I do not think football is the greatest sport. I actually think basketball is the greatest sport.
Andrew's here to debate with you. He would probably say something.
I love basketball, man. Basketball is a fun sport to watch.
Yeah.
I have yet to declare fandom for like any team whatsoever.
That's the same with me too.
Let's say from the day I was born to about 2011, 2012, hardcore Laker fan for, Kobe's time. By the time he got hurt, I went on to just the Warriors before the Stephen Curry hype train, and after the Warriors, that 4th of July where Kevin Durant joined the team, I was like, okay, I'm gonna chill. We're gonna win one more, and I'm probably gonna join another fandom. And that's when I saw a player named Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I saw this Greek kid, 6'10", $190, absolutely murdering teams in the East, and he was just such an underrated guy. I started falling in love with the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was weird. That's a weird period in your life.
So 2016, 2017, I'm wearing a Giannis Antetokounmpo jersey in a basketball practice, which is like, don't wear jerseys in a basketball practice. That's corny.
He thinks he's MJ.
That's he
Thinks he's MJ.
So I'm wearing this jersey, and Coach Brady Wiltbank. You know Wiltbank?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wiltbank walks up to me and goes, "Why are you wearing? Who? How do you even say that guy's name?" And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, you're talking about the future MVP." And he goes, "Future MVP, my ass. I don't even know who that guy is." Sure as shit, 2 years later, back-to-back MVP, NBA champion, Defensive Player of the Year, had Michael Jordan stats. And I was right with that one. 2017 rolled along. I was like, hey, Devin Booker's going to be the man. He goes to the finals, doesn't win it, but he was the man. Marvin Bagley, my own Duke player, he's a bust. I knew it from the day he was going to be in the league. Jaleel Okafor, I knew it. Andrew Wiggins.
I remember Dick Vitale talking about Jaleel Okafor.
Yeah. It's
Jaleel! He's a beast.
He's a beast. Yeah, I remember going to the Natty, and it was like, oh man, my team won. That's like insane. Like, we just beat the Michigan Spartans, and like I'm happy for my team. We go on. My favorite moment, like basketball wise, was probably like seeing Zion Williamson play in the Elite Eight against the UCF, or was it Michigan State? I can't remember, but that was such a cool moment to see my Duke players get that. And then Final Four this year with Coach K's last game, seeing Paolo Banchero give it all. And then he gets drafted #1 overall a few weeks ago, technically a few days ago, but per recording, a few weeks ago, he gets selected #1 of the Magic. And I'm saying the same thing. Paolo Banchero is going to be a bust if he's going to continue to play for the Orlando Magic, unless he takes the Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal approach and goes to the Lakers.
Yeah, but I think the thing with basketball that makes it, that I would have to say it's the best sport, it's a lot like baseball or with its following and its moments, because basketball is an easy sport to kind of get to understand.
It's one of the easiest sports to play and get down with.
And it's easy to understand, and the skill level is
super rapid. Yeah,
you got a huge ramp.
Easier the game, the more high.
It's like
the
think
hype.
of Call of Duty and
Ranked. When you get to ranked, it's
you
insane.
get ranked
They're
and
doing
it's-
tech.
And I think I know people probably will disagree with me on this one, but when it comes to the COVID season of basketball, when they pretty much went through the tournament where they had everybody in to try to win the final,
the worst thing ever.
I actually think that was awesome.
I hated that.
Because that gave teams who were crappy a chance
That was
at
a
winning
thing?
a championship.
Yeah, the NBA bubble
in
in
a season.
Yeah, who
Orlando.
went into that season thinking the Heat were going to do anything?
Nobody,
great, right?
And that's
I
what
knew
made it
Bam
so
Adebayo was
great.
going to be a star in that playoff series, but I didn't think they would go to the finals.
Exactly.
I'm usually right. I'm usually right in a lot of basketball takes, and that's because I'm not an NBA scout. I have no risk. So if I say something stupid, I'm not going to get flamed for it on Twitter for 3 years straight. Shout out Rusty Buckets. But he said Luka Doncic was a bad basketball player or some shit. And yeah, every draft year he gets flamed for it because I said Trey Young would get eliminated in the first round, that he would play for college in the tournament. I think it was the round of 64 and they lost, or the round of 32, whatever. They ended up losing, and I go, this guy's gonna be a great NBA player. And I'm kind of in the Atlanta fandom, so I like the Braves, I like the Falcons a little bit, but I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. So
You like the Falcons?
the Falcons are cool. Matty Ice was the guy.
Guess he's with Ben, I guess.
Ben.
Matty Ice was cool, but I'm a hardcore Packer fan, so fuck the Falcons, I guess. And then the Braves, and obviously the Atlanta Hawks are kind of my team. And when they're beating the shit out of any New York team, I fucking hate New York.
You don't fuck with NYC.
I don't like any New York team,
No.
man. No New York teams, especially the Mets. Fuck
But
the
you like
Mets.
Wu-Tang though.
I love Wu-Tang.
So,
They from
you
Long
little
Island,
bitch.
so they from Long Island. So
Oh, okay. Now we're getting to different places. Go
But yeah,
fuck yourself.
that was really what I found so interesting, hype about that season, is seeing Miami Heat, the most underdog team possible, probably would have never made the playoffs that season.
I thought they're gonna win.
They climbed all the way to the championship round and almost won. They didn't win
Game
because they were
6.
against the Lakers, weren't they?
Lakers at the time,
Yeah.
And they almost won, which is insane, and I think really shows how competitive basketball can truly be, which is something I think football lacks. Is a lot of teams in football are just hot trash.
You don't think football has that diversity when it comes to competition level? Because any given Sunday you can lose.
Yeah,
look at
that
Urban
is
Meyer.
true. That
Urban
is
Meyer
true.
was like, damn, it feels like I'm placing Alabama every week.
This is the part of the podcast where I get silent.
But it's consistent that in football there's usually about 6 teams that are just garbage that year. They might win a few.
Yeah.
You might get up.
Those 4 and 14 teams,
these
whatever we're at now.
great teams might get upset by these 4 and 14 teams, but they still suck, which kind of takes away a lot of
Alex, the
how
Lions suck.
competitive. He's a Rams fan now.
Yeah, you fuck.
But
No, clarification. I'm going to clarify it now on the podcast. I am a Matthew Stafford fan. I just moved teams. I like Matthew. If anything, if Megatron was still existing, I'd still be with
Whatever.
Detroit.
The
You know what's
Packers
funny
fell
about that? When Matthew Stafford went to the Rams, the day he got traded, Tony Kornheiser, who is one of the best sports writers ever, he's on PTI, Pardon the Interruption, on ESPN.
Great
He
guy.
goes on Pardon the Interruption and says, the Rams are going to win Super Bowl this year with Matthew Stafford.
And nobody
and he
gave him
cut
a
so
damn
much
Nobody
heat.
did.
He cut
I
so much heat.
that. Now that
That's
you're saying it.
That's interesting because, like I said
Look at the
before,
Warriors this year. The Warriors too. Everybody who
12% or whatever?
Redick, right, was the only one that wasn't throwing up the zeros.
Yeah.
Like Kendrick Perkins and whoever the hell it was. That was a great meme because the Warriors had everything to prove that year and they won it all. So
I just
number
couldn't
4 for
see. I
that
couldn't
team.
see the Rams not making it to the Super Bowl last year. They have been stacking themselves up for the past 7 years,
Nearly a decade?
throwing away all their first round picks for great players.
Well,
there's no way you don't
Yeah.
win a Super Bowl at some point.
and they become, kind of the New York Yankees, the classic, we're going to pay for all these players and we're going to get the best ones. We're going to take your stars from your small market. We're going to bring them here to the big market, this case being LA. And we're going to win with the best players in the league. It's like an all-star team, really, what the Rams had.
They were the fantasy team.
They were a fantasy team. You're exactly right. And it's
Stafford, Robert Woods, all those guys are my fantasy team too. So
that's right. And it's not fun when a team goes pay to win. You look at what the Yankees are doing this year, and they're on pace to break the Mariners record, actually, of 116. They're on pace to win 120
just like the Mariners,
games.
first round exit. Yes, sir.
The second round that year.
Second
round. They, again, paying to win. They've got Aaron Judge, the best hitter in baseball, and what they're going to do is if they start to struggle, they're going to go out and buy more big league talent and sell off, whoever they can who's not making the cut.
Rookie question here. As you guys are probably more knowledgeable with actual real life sports as I am, in my little genre. Super teams, or Andrew, what's the specific term? Is it super teams?
It's super teams.
Super teams. Is that like a common trend between all sports? At one point, someone just says, "Fuck it, here's money. I want to win."
Well, super teams over the last, let's just.
I know baseball had like not baseball. Basketball had like a big problem with that, right?
Because
like 2008,
with owners, they at some point they just want to win, and if you have enough money that you can make a super team. You might as well make the super team. Does it ruin the sport? A little bit, because then it makes other teams want to just start making super teams, and then it becomes more about money than about actually playing the sport. But it's going to happen regardless. You can make a super team even probably without having that much money. You could probably just recruiting enough good players. You don't have to pay them $1 bazillion. You don't have to throw away all your money into the wind for these players. You could just bring them in and make a super team, but it's just easier to make it with the money.
In baseball, you try to make a super team. The Angels have tried this for years. They bought everybody. They bought Albert Pujols, David Freese to an extent. They bought to try to make the best lineup in baseball. But it doesn't work because baseball is so streaky and that the best hitters fail.
I was about to say
baseball's
hard.
It's hard, and it doesn't exactly work with baseball. And the beauty of baseball is, even
the ball never lies.
There's 27 men on a roster in the postseason, and the star is not always going to be in the big spot. Barry Bonds on the Giants is not always going to be in the situation you want him to be in. And even when he's there, more often than not, he is going to fail in the spot that you need him to succeed.
Or get intentionally walked.
Or get intentionally walked with the bases loaded, which happened once. And the Diamondbacks ended up winning that game somehow. But again, the star is going to be in the situation. Mike Trout isn't going to have the bases loaded down 3 in the bottom of the ninth every single time. It's going to come down to that 9-hole hitter or that bench guy to come up big in a situation. And you look at, I think it was the 2014 National League Division or Championship Series, the Championship Series, the Giants and the Cardinals, right? The Giants were either down 1 or tied in the 9th inning. And they were leading in the series, so if they win this game, they're going to the World Series. A guy that no one's ever heard of, Travis Ishikawa was his name, the 27th man on the roster, the very last guy to make it, who's not expecting to do anything in any game, who's going to ride the bench and be there if a couple players go down to injury. He gets in the game in the bottom of the 9th inning, and he's facing, I don't remember who the Cardinals pitcher was. Travis Ishikawa goes deep to send the Giants to the World Series. He wasn't even supposed to be there. He was hardly there during the regular season on that roster. The 27th guy, the last guy, comes up clutch and sends them to the World Series. This is the beauty of baseball.
It's like they say, a team's only as good as its worst player.
I think
no, the Giants won in 2014. Okay. The Royals won in 15.
15,
yeah.
I just thought I'd ask because it's literally always a conversation I hear my brother and my dad talk about. Like, oh, LeBron wants X, Y, and Z on his team.
My dad's a very old school basketball
Does dad not does dad hate 3-pointers now or no?
No, he's cool with 3-pointers except
I know old people
he thinks
hate that.
Like Dan Marley from the fucking Phoenix Suns of 1999 or some shit. When Charles Barkley was on the Phoenix Suns, he thinks that was like the greatest shooter of all time. Not even fucking close. He just happened to hit 138-footer, and he was like, "Oh my god, he's the greatest guy ever, greatest 3-point shot ever." And then Ray Allen comes around, and he's like, "Oh my god, he fucking sent the San Antonio Spurs home." So, my dad's a little shaky when it comes to basketball takes.
Yeah,
he thinks bully ball is also like the best thing ever. when it came down to the Miami Heat series, the bully ball game came down because Bam Adebayo was a little kid compared to Anthony Davis.
There you go. There's Andrew's take with that
I
dad.
guess going back to my take on basketball is basketball is a game, and I think baseball is too. But they,
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it's a game. It's a game.
They transcend the sport itself. Like culturally speaking, basketball is huge. Like every aspect of life, you may not even think about it.
I was
has
going to try to
something to do
lead.
with
I was going to
basketball.
try to lead somewhere into this, but like
because-
the hype beast culture around it.
Yeah, like because even like
Jerseys go hard to wear.
Jerseys go hard to wear. People love wearing basketball jerseys, basketball shoes. People wear basketball shoes even if they don't like basketball. In school, when you have a crumpled up ball, what do? You're shooting a basket. It's just something special about basketball that like it resonates with a lot of people culturally. Like
I won't lie though. When I have a stick, I try to pretend like I'm the swinger though. I get a
That
big
is-
old stick.
I
I'm all like,
guess.
all right, swing. I try to.
Most uncoordinated swing you've ever seen.
Hey.
by the way.
Fuck you.
leave Alex alone.
I'm
Alex,
trying
can you
to
tell us-
enjoy
can you
this.
tell us stories of your little leagues, man. Little league.
Why
time.
do you make me cry?
I remember going to a practice. One practice, this guy was playing catcher, and he got
Bro, I suck,
stoned.
bro. I
Someone threw a knuckleball at him, and I don't think Alex knew what pitches were, and that knuckleball came to him and just dropped and hit his nuts, and it was over.
That's it.
And he had
That's
no
it for
cup, no
Alex.
nothing,
Yep,
because I
that's
know,
it.
I know
I-
for sure.
hey.
You got to wear your cup behind the plate, man. Otherwise, you ain't gonna have no
No,
kids.
no,
man.
it's just that he would never played catcher. It just so happened, hey, Alex, let's put you in the catcher position real quick. Because, Alex was a big-ass kid, and
I
obviously...
don't even remember this story, dog. I'm
Yeah,
getting
because you
told.
blacked out. You
blacked out.
You
You
don't
hit
remember
the
that.
nuts.
Oh no!
I'm gonna cut off Andrew though.
Little
But
red
the
jersey.
But the thing with those, the thing about those early days of my dad trying, I know it was my dad or my mom, but the thing is, like I said, the mental thing from earlier. If there's no drive to do it, even to a certain extent with YouTube, because I'm gonna bring it back to it. If there's no drive to make a video or drive to play a sport, you're not gonna do anything. It's like going to work. If you don't want to go to work that day and put it in your all, you're just gonna sit around and do fuck off for the whole day.
I guess that's something we can get into as we get into to wind down. Alex, so what is that your main reason for not doing sports in school?
Yeah.
Is you just did not have the
There was-
drive for
I'm
it?
surprised you never wrestled.
I'm actually surprised too, to a certain degree, because as of late, I don't know if it's my hormones or my testosterone, but I want to beat the fuck out of somebody. That's been an urge since like.
Boxing.
Boxing's fun.
Boxing's
I
kinda-
awesome
I-
to watch.
to a
I
certain
love
degree, I
watching
kinda want
boxing.
to. I don't know if
boxing.
it's-
MMA,
Really.
love watching MMA.
Yep.
Yeah. But to a certain degree, yeah, it was just always because of that. I had no like passion for it. There was not until recently, like I told you guys, until Larry cuts my hair. I'm like, the Braves are swinging, but they're fucking missing. No, it's the top of the second. This is pretty interesting. Oh, my haircut's done. I'm gonna take a shower, and then that's how it ends.
So Alex needed a maturing moment.
Alex
to
watched the
understand
Rangers game where
sports.
Shohei Ohtani got hit his first grand slam off of.
Really?
Yeah, he was watching the Rangers game, and I'm sitting there watching Ohtani pitch for the first time. This is the first time I've ever watched Ohtani pitch because I don't give a shit about AL teams, to be honest. And I'm seeing the bases get loaded, and he's just in a jam, and boom, the eighth hole hitter, first home run ever, the rookie hits a fucking home run, and I was just like, damn, he hit a home run, bases loaded. And I was like, who hit off of that guy, right? He's like, who the hell's that guy? Shohei Ohtani is something special, man. Two-way
Shohei
player.
Ohtani.
It was just like,
crazy.
The AL MVP last year. Yeah.
that looks pretty cool. Like, it literally took me almost, how old was I then? Like 17, 18 or something? I don't know.
This was like a few weeks back. This was when.
Oh, this was a few weeks?
Few weeks
Bro.
ago.
a few weeks back, bro.
Yeah, really? I was like, oh damn. But no, it's taken me a while to be like, sports are pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just
I think you also watched the play when we were in the World Series, the Braves, when Eddie Rosario caught that ball off of Mookie Betts, and me and Dad were like,
Oh, yeah.
yo, fuck Mookie Betts, fuck that bitch. And we were just going crazy. We were fucking jumping up and down. Eddie Rosario's the fucking man. He's the fucking man. You came up, and he's like, he waddles over. He's like, what's going on, man?
Eddie Rosario will never buy a drink in Atlanta as long as he lives. For the rest of his life. He will never have to buy a drink there ever again. Ever. Or dinner. Somebody will pick it up for him. Like, hey, you Eddie Rosario? I got you dinner.
That's the man. Super
That's how it goes.
Rosario, man.
Speaking of excited baseball fans, I was the most excited fans, and I think probably the most obnoxious. The top three for me, The Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers. Those are the three worst fans in baseball, I think. And I went to a Mariners-Red Sox game at T-Mobile Park. We had great seats. We're sitting in the second row right down the third base line. And we were so close, you could hear the ball bouncing on the ground. You can hear the pop of the catcher's glove in real time. You could hear when the left fielder comes over, you can hear what he's saying, basically. And so we sit down. We're in the second row. And we're there before the game, and there's the on-deck show on the Jumbotron. They're going through the starting lineups and, whatever. And so this guy, this big old Boston guy, big beard, fat guy, sits down, has his Boston shirt on, Boston hat, from Boston, right? He has his wife and kids there. And they were having a conversation, and his buddy was there, too, and he's talking to his buddy. And he's talking about Tom Brady, who's there at that time. And he sits down, and he goes, oh, yeah, Tom Brady. Tom Brady,
he's the best.
I give Tom Brady a blowjob. Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's guy talk, though. Yeah. I understand.
And his wife and kids were sitting right there. And
that's guy talk, though.
They know I'd give Tom Brady a blowjob.
Yeah, and
honey, are you gay? Shut up.
As the game goes on, it's in the most Boston way. Mookie Betts was there in Boston at the time. And so he comes up to, every time Mookie came up, he'd go, hey, let's go, Mookie! Hey, Mookie, let's go, Mookie! And Xander Bogaerts came up, who was in Boston. He goes, hey, it's Bogaerts. Let's go, Bogaerts. It's like that. And there would be a routine fly ball, and he'd stand up and yell, get some legs. Get some legs, ball.
I love baseball fucking trash talk.
Boston fans are funny as hell, bro.
Yeah, and they're also annoying as shit.
They're
sometimes.
annoying.
Yeah, sometimes.
Not all of them.
That's because they come from like championship DNA. You got the
That's
Celtics,
right. But again, they had to drop too. Yeah. They had the curse of the Bambino. Yeah. When Babe Ruth left, he went to the Yankees, and he said, "You'll never win a World Series again." Took him 80 years. Took him to the 2000s.
Yeah.
How many baseball teams are there?
Unfortunately, the Yankees
30.
whooped our ass a couple times in that 5-run streak, 1995, and then a couple games after. I hated that shit. My dad, very excited when we won 1995 World Series. He bought the warm-up jackets, which we got somewhere laying around the house.
You want me to go grab it or no?
Nah, I don't even know where it's at. It's cool, though, because it has its initials and everything. I got Chipper Jones stuff. I'm named after Andrew Jones.
I'm named after my grandfather, by the way.
Yeah,
my dad was so enthralled with the Braves. I have to name a child after them.
Yeah.
That shit's insane.
You like the tomahawk chop?
Oh, yeah.
I don't. I like it.
I remember doing the tomahawk chop in Seattle when we were whooping ass.
Oh, man.
Whooping ass. And we
I don't know about
we were going hard.
Well, we did that at our high school during sporting events. That was the thing. We did the tomahawk
get fucking
chop.
dropped.
And now, with our
Now
high
we're
school,
singing Danger Zone.
Now we're the Mavericks, right? Is that what it is now?
so lame. We should
have been the
Raptors.
Raptors.
The Velociraptors. That would have been
I fucked
so
with the Tumbleweeds.
awesome.
The Tumbleweeds was cool.
Tumbleweeds was cool,
Velociraptors would have been so good. Moses like Mosasaurs. Any dinosaur would have been awesome.
Any dinosaur is cool, dude.
Why would you choose the Mavericks? So lame.
And it wasn't even named after Top Gun. It wasn't even after Tom Cruise. It's about a cow, right?
What? What's the lore here? What?
Yeah,
no, I gotta. Whoa.
A Maverick. Some sort of cow is called a Maverick. I'm not up on my farming lingo. It might be a horse. It's named after maybe it's a horse. I think it's a horse or a cow. But it's not named after Tom Cruise. It's not named after Top Gun.
No.
And that's just sad because you missed an opportunity to have an F-18 as your logo. Which
Wait,
is
it's
badass.
not an F8? I thought it
No.
was.
Oh, they're even more lame now.
Yeah, you don't get the F-18. You don't get to be the
Who
most
greenlit
like
this?
Tom Cruise's.
Who greenlit this idea?
There's reason number 3 why I didn't do sports in high school. They just made the worst
Logos.
decisions for like marketing. Worst marketing decisions for our high school. Worst.
So wait, Frey, can you tell me? I think Andrew should probably explain this to me, or even my mom. But like, why did we change it? Did somebody actually get pissed, or was the white people feeling bad? Do you know or no?
Well, they tried to strike a deal with the Native Americans here. I think it was a Yakima thing. I don't know if we negotiated with them or not. I'm not entirely sure. But I think the Yakima tribe said, you can't be called the chiefs anymore. You got to change to something else. And I don't know the specifics on that.
Was Chief Moses part of the Yakima tribe? Is that lore? Is that something
I don't know. I don't know. But Chief Mo, the middle school, they're changing too.
Yeah,
they're now the
changed.
Columbia Basin something. What are they now? I don't remember.
I just know. I know Frontier's like the Spartans.
The Spartans.
Now.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is weird because it's
the
weird,
Greek people.
It's weird because Warriors doesn't exactly imply Native Americans.
That implies literally any person with a weapon.
Yeah.
It's any weapon.
Yeah, and you know, I'm right there with you, and still, I'm not. I don't want to get into too much political stuff here, but I don't believe in all the political correctness stuff. I will say that, and I will say people need to be respected, and that's A-okay. And if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, but language. I don't think should be changed, and I don't think these things should go. And if your feelings are hurt about a name or something, well, maybe if you're a Native American, worried about, or I guess disappointed in a name, right? I think we're naming these things after Native Americans to honor that culture, right? To honor that tradition.
I think that was the original intent.
Yeah, wasn't that our intent?
It's not meant to be making fun of anything or mocking, right?
At least the ones around here, I know
That's right.
I'm sure that
we
was
didn't name ourselves the Redskins. Like,
the
right.
Redskins.
Jeez.
I understand the Redskins.
Yeah,
I understand why they had to change their name, but the Chiefs is like Chiefs. Like,
yeah, that's right.
I mean, I guess I can get like changing the mascot to be less offensive, but like the name is still like the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's right. And Eastern Washington, the university, used to be the Savages back in the day, and they had to change that in the 80s because Savage. I mean, that's kind of messed up.
That one, yeah.
But when you have these logos and you have these mascots that are meant to pay homage to a people, and they take it as offensive. Maybe I just can't sympathize with that, and if I could definitely be in the wrong, but I see it as a thing of tradition and saying, hey, this area was and still is inhabited by Native Americans, and we should honor that tradition.
I will agree with
that part of the land.
Within this town we live in, I don't think there's anybody that says who's. I think I said it on another podcast, but who's saying fuck the natives? Like
nobody.
It's weird. Maybe it's because I'm I don't interact with them or I don't live close to them to my knowledge, but it's like, who the fuck's saying that?
Nobody. And we grew up in a town that's predominantly Mexican, predominantly Latino. And nobody had any problems with anybody. We grew up and Mexicans and white people that coexist. I mean, it's fine. Everybody's fine with each other. Nobody looks at what color you are or what your heritage is. Nobody cares. People are people. You respect the person for the content of the character, as Dr. King said. Right?
Yeah.
But it's taken to a whole nother level when we see, I think, these things on the national media scale, saying that people in a whole nother state or in another country are being oppressed, and sometimes they say that white people are bad or some people are oppressors or whatever, and it's just not the case here. People are people, and I think we come from a very loving and caring and kind community. That's right, and luckily there's hardly any racism or anything here. We've got we don't have that many Asians or
the Asians we do have are pretty fucking cool.
They are cool. I mean, they're really cool.
Awesome. I love God.
They're really cool.
My homies.
And the African Americans we had here usually were among the coolest kids in school.
Yeah,
you looked up to these guys.
Right? Unironically, in a weird sense, they're on the top of the school food chain.
They were. Weird. They really were. They really were
beloved in the community.
They were.
Andrew even has a black best friend. It's not.
That's right. And nobody looks upon them any differently from anybody else. And it's great. It's a great spot to be.
Yep.
That's right.
Truly is. And so ending off on I'm not trying to end off on a political note. You want to go something else?
I did want to go. I want to touch more on
go. Mine's short and fun.
More personal thing. So the two Andrews did sports. I kind of want to hear a little bit about your guys' experience with that kind of thing. Like any stories? Like how was it being a player in the sports world?
Go ahead. You tackle this one.
When I played baseball as a young kid, I absolutely fucking hated it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got to the 4th and 3rd grade to when I got a coach that knew my family and was, your uncle is Leo Garza, which will be a podcast guest eventually. He worked me hard. He worked me hard every day, and we would go out to practice, and I felt like an actual MLB athlete, a kid that can go to the league because of this coach. But I had the wrong mindset back then. Man, why is he hitting these balls at least 150 feet? I'm shallow center field. Like, what's going on here? And then he moved me to first base because I wasn't that fast. And I was learning the game, really fast with this. And if to me, it was just like, I don't like this game anymore. I don't want to play it anymore. So I got to the 5th grade. I started playing basketball. I fell in love with basketball. Basketball was like my favorite sport to play, at least. I never got around football. Everybody says that I would always be a good football player. From the size I was, I could be a good offensive lineman, good defensive lineman. I could even play a little bit of tight end because I had the hands at that time. But back to basketball. Basketball I had so much fun with. I played for the Warriors in 7th and 8th grade, had fun. I got cut off of the basketball team my freshman year. That was kind of my own doing, but
I was there for that day.
Wow.
yeah, I got cut
I
off.
slept in my car, and he came to me and was like, bro, I'm done with this
That's
shit. I'm like,
crazy,
oh, wow.
man.
Yeah, I got cut off the basketball team, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna refocus my efforts, and I'm gonna be like a Stephen A. Smith, and not be expendable to a team or to a teleprompter. I'm gonna state my own opinions and do this. And as I started my YouTube journey, I wanted to do basketball related content, and it just didn't end up happening. And now we do movies and stuff. So I mean, and at the end, it worked out because sports really gave me the opportunity to do so fucking much, and for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I guess, Fry, you're next.
I remember my junior year of high school, which was the last full year we had because our senior year got cut short for COVID. The baseball team I was on, the school's team won the state championship.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
It's
guys
raw.
were
And,
awesome that
and
year.
we were pretty good. Yeah, and I didn't play much. I was a bench guy. I mean, the team was dominated by seniors, and I was a junior. And there was, I was a pitcher, and I could hit a little bit. But there was a lot of people. There was a lot of talent on that team, and frankly, they're just better than I was. And so I was there. I was along for the ride. I was. What's that? Prospects. And there's a couple of guys that were younger than I was, who did okay and are still doing okay there now at the high school. But still, I was on the bench, and I was a little bit better than the JV guys were, and I was just a little bit worse than the varsity guys. So I sat on the varsity team. I traveled around, and me and some of the other kids who were mostly the bench guys, I mean, we didn't do nothing. We were there. We suited up for every game, right? But we'd have the other jobs other than playing. I mean, we picked the signs of the other team. Everybody has their pitch signs where they're tapping their hat and their nose and their ear and their face and their lips, and they're wiping their whatever to try to call the pitch, right? And so we would sit there and study that, pick up patterns and decode what their signs were, and we do that, basically every game.
I love that in baseball. It's just like there's like Morse code with you guys. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, there is, and everybody gets on the same page, and then there's the Astros bang the trash can. That's right, and then there's the base signs. On base, you got the coach standing there over in the third base box, doing signs with his arms and is touching his hat and his belt and wiping his chest across and going down his arm or whatever. And we'd sit there and look at those and try to figure out patterns and figure out, okay, they're stealing on this pitch. Mm-hmm. And so then we'd relay that to the coach, who in turn would relay that to the catcher and the pitcher. And we'd either try to pick them off or he'd throw them out at second because they would pitch out and he knew it was coming, right? And so we gained an advantage that way. And we also heckled the other team, which was frowned upon in high school baseball, and we couldn't say much. But we had a kid named Chayton, who I don't know if you guys know him. He's one of the funniest kids I've ever met. And he would yell at the other team, and he'd mean mug them, or he'd try to get in their heads in some ways.
How you doing there, daddy?
Yeah, or something like that.
Gay talk, bro. It throws off any
that.
dude.
Oh
Not
my
quite
gosh.
that, but it was a lot of fun, and just being around those guys in that clubhouse, it was a great place to be, and I had a lot of fun, even though I didn't get much playing time. I pitched in a couple of games. I got a few ABs. I had picked up the first RBI of the season, actually,
there you go.
for that squad. It was an infield jam job, little ground ball to the shortstop that I beat out. It's funny that I can remember all these little at bats. It was a 1-1 pitch. And actually, I jammed it was a fastball up and in that I just caught off the handle, but I beat it out. So picked up an RBI.
That's awesome.
But again, it was a fun time to be around those guys, and that's what youth sports is about. It's about having a good time with your friends, and when you're competitive like we were, it's about channeling that fun that you're having and skill and talent that we had into the game, and we did, and the guys who were starters did it brilliantly, and we won a state championship.
That's awesome.
That was awesome. I remember this. I remember the Snapchat.
I think that was one of the few times that our school over a team other than girls.
That shit was hype.
Other than girls volleyball, I think that was one of girls volleyball
That's
and
true. We
men's
got
baseball was the few times that our school came together and was like, our team's good. We are like. School spirit rose.
Football team
our football team
sucked.
destroyed our school spirit.
Yeah, I remember I was elected to the executive board on ASB my senior year, and our football team was so bad that I suggested we have paper bag night at the stadium. And we go, you pick up your paper bags and you put them on watching our football team.
We should have done that. That's hilarious.
I
know the
jokingly,
guys.
but-
That would have trended on Twitter, on Snapchat. That shit would have been fucking funny.
The players
bro.
would have been so sad, but that would have been so good.
And
'Cause
we
it was the joke through the whole school that our football team was
bad.
hot garbage. Didn't we go
And those guys
defeated that year? Did not win a game.
We didn't win. But those guys on that team, some of the funniest
Yeah,
guys.
I love
genuine
those guys.
Logan and Bernal, the two that stick out
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Just stand out.
Regoza.
Hey Juice.
Jesus Rayquaza. I love that guy. I love that guy so
I mean, it's
much.
just
Why is
some-
his nickname Rayquaza? I always people called him Zeus or shit.
Yeah, people call them a bunch of
Jesus
stuff.
Rayquaza.
That's
That's what we called him in Robertson's class.
Yo, Rayquaza.
And we'd dog on him so
Yeah.
hard for the football team sucking. We'd be like, Jesus, your team sucks.
I know, and these guys are just fantastic people.
God, yeah, I love those guys, but man, did that team not
Man,
work.
this was not a great team.
I was pretty proud when the boys won the Lake one. I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean it was
Yeah.
great.
Nice.
It was a Friday night. Everybody went out to the ball. Everyone out to the stadium, and we all dressed up in the theme that was meant to be dressed in. But the volleyball team, like you said, I mean the
volleyball team
crowds,
was
the
amazing.
crowds for
Our
that.
girls team were pretty badass. I
Yeah.
think all of them were.
all of our girls teams were good.
They were, and the crowds we got for those volleyball games, the
Pretty big.
tribe sections, the student section, they weren't big, but everybody who was there wanted to be there,
they
and we all got
wanted
loud.
to.
And
yeah.
it was probably half the size, the student section wise, maybe 2/3, 3/4
Yeah, it was
of a
like
basketball game. But we were probably louder at the volleyball games because everybody was there. They were invested in the game, even though we don't really know what's happening in the volleyball game. We were there to watch, and we were
had
there.
no idea
to-
what was
I love-
happening.
I
but
love- I love teenage
we supported our girls.
For other reasons.
All right, Alex. I did it as a joke. I brought the binoculars as a joke.
There was binoculars. I was
Remember
using my
we
eyes.
did one of the themes was like hunters. So I brought
think
like
so.
I had like a hunting hat and binoculars, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we know what you got those for." And I was like,
Yeah, you do.
you know."
but dude, high school angst was fucking
Yeah, that's
dude.
good times.
Teenagers being teenagers.
I guess
Fucking love
I'll finish it off with my personal sports story, I guess. So, like we've been talking about, I've been mostly just like a fan of sports in general. I have not played sports at all, like for a team, because largely for two reasons. One, I'm short. Short guy. You can see in the thumbnail for episode 11, so much shorter than Alex and Colton.
I'm fucking huge.
And the second reason, I'm not a team player. I cannot play on a team. I get way too competitive and invested in myself that I just cannot. If I lose, I get mad. And I'm like, I have to be better. I have to. But when you're working with a team, it's not all about you. You have to
There's
work on
no
your other
team.
people.
There's no I in team.
So I mostly just do, when I do sports, I choose like solo things that I can do on the side. Like after school, I'd go play tennis or frisbee golf.
Why didn't you ever do? I know chess is everybody looks down on. Why didn't you do chess? That's a
I
real.
suck at chess. I can't play chess.
I love chess,
But
I
that's
try to get into it.
that's largely why I couldn't, is because I can't play on a team, and I just have to be the best personally, just constantly working on myself. Because I play basketball. I have a hoop at my house. I could never play on a team. I had to play solo because I just had to
one on
win.
ones.
You'd be a great golfer.
I probably would be a
Are you
great
trying
golfer.
to get us into golf? Are you trying to?
I'm not trying to get you anything.
You're trying to
but
get me
from
into golf.
what Caleb is describing, I'm telling you. I mean, if you have that desire to work on your game and better yourself, I mean, the golf course is the place for you.
That's why I love frisbee golf, and I'm sure
The next
normal
podcast
golf
will take place on a golf field, and probably be like, "All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to
show you how to golf.
I'm no good. I mean, you wouldn't learn anything from me.
Sometimes
You learn what not to do.
you learn what not to
That's
do.
so good. Failing and stuff. I've always loved failing in certain
Yeah.
ways because if I fail, I'm like, all right, now I know what the
Failure's
fuck to
your
do.
Greatest teacher.
Yes, that's what I love about when I play fighting games and I fucking get into the corner and someone combos the fuck out of me. I'm all like, how'd you do that? How'd you do that?
I think
and I learn.
That's another thing that was always funny. I guess this is cutting off Alex. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're good. You're good.
But because I wouldn't do sports at school, I do most of my like practice and stuff at home just because I'd get bored. I'm like, time to toss the football, see what happens. Time to shoot baskets. Let's see how I do today. And when it come to like gym class and we had to like play sports, especially at in middle school when we do football, the football segment,
Cross country football.
it'd just be like I'd just be the shortest guy out there. And all the guys I talked to were like super nerds in that class. And all the football players are like,
I remember.
they're like,
Caleb, you're too short.
they'd be like, yeah, like
I love the enthusiasm, but
nobody would go for me. But as soon as like I got the ball, like they're like, what the heck? This guy's actually good.
Nani? What is going around?
You had a couple of highlights in cross country football, especially. You had some in prison ball too, right?
Yeah,
Where you
yeah.
got a couple of big names out.
Yeah, I was
snuck the change up in there.
I remember I was very good at dodging when we played prison ball.
You were probably one of the last ones in. Most of the
I was
time,
always the last one in, and so I have a good arm. Unironically, I can throw a ball. So in prison ball, when I'd see somebody who I knew could catch, I just hucked that thing over, and I think I got a jail brick a few times because I get everyone back in.
Yeah,
I'm
Insane.
like the anchor of a team.
yeah, he was. Yeah, that's big time. Big time plays.
Any time in PE. For me, I try to be in those sports, but once I got into strength and conditioning, that's where it's like, if anything, if I were to become in a competitive thing, it'd probably be like bodybuilding or something. I haven't been working out forever, but I won't lie. Instagram's kind of getting me back into it, seeing those guys. I'm like, damn.
I could do that.
They're good.
I think I could. Like, if I took a couple steroids and actually try to at least, that's the only sport where steroids
all
is legal.
natural, baby, all natural.
That's the one
Yeah,
sport I'm
right.
like, damn, I might be able to do that. Those guys are, technically the guys that you see on the competitive stage are not healthy. I want you to know being all that muscle and backstage are fucking dying because they're not like hydrated and eating. It's kind of bad, but that looks
Still good.
A lot of stress on your heart at that point. too.
Yeah, I know. A lot of those guys have
that's-
heart conditions, by the way. Like, it's not good. Like, those guys, it's a real big misconception. Those guys are not healthy. I'd rather be like 20 pounds or 50 pounds overweight than being that because you're like knocking on death's door.
Yeah.
Dehydrated, not eating, all that muscle mass. Fuck no, dude. There's no way.
Yeah.
And usually they're not good sprinters either. They start running, they're dead. Just power walking will KO them, bro.
To get in shape, I feel like the peak body type, Miles Teller. I mean, come on.
Miles Teller.
Or like Brad Pitt, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years ago, Brad Pitt. You ever seen the movie Troy?
Yeah. I
Oh,
remember.
Brad Pitt in that one. Whew. Hello.
Why'd you add
Hello.
that? This guy.
Brad Pitt. I mean, he looked good. You can't tell me he didn't look good in that movie.
Yeah.
Come on.
Agreed. I agree.
Christian Bale in Batman looked pretty good.
You know what's crazy about
worked
that?
out hard.
Yeah.
Because he just came off The Machinist, right? Where he was like
he had to
a
get
$110.
super.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you seen that movie, The Machine?
I
Have you
have a
seen
little bit of
pictures
it.
of him?
Yeah.
At least.
He's
oh my
super
goodness.
thin.
And
The amount he had to
man.
put on for Batman
I know.
is insane.
It's crazy. That
and
can't
the
be
fact he
healthy.
actually did it.
Right. In a couple of months.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
There's definitely
dedicated.
drugs involved.
That guy is
I want both of you to know
He's
that.
so dedicated to his craft. He
Yeah.
will change his body however he
That's right.
feels necessary.
That's right. Him and another guy who kind of does that, who you don't recognize in some of these movies, he's in Gary Oldman. You know
That is
Gary?
true.
Really?
Yes, now that you put it out, yeah.
Kind of a
Really?
chameleon. You know, Sirius Black, Harry
Yeah.
Potter, Commissioner Gordon, right? He was in The Fifth Element. You probably didn't know he was in that
He
one.
was in that one.
Yeah,
I didn't know
he
that.
was in Hitman's Bodyguard as the Russian guy. You could hardly recognize him there, you know. So he changes, less physical, but he changes, or I guess, muscular wise, but he changes his face and his physique and his really his acting.
He's a great
Changes.
actor.
Oh,
too.
really
He's
good. So underrated.
amazing.
Yeah.
Those guys are wild.
Yeah, really underrated is Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
I wish I had a story about him, but I
You
guess
don't.
I really don't. He's
Well,
kind of under the radar.
He is underappreciated.
I think big time. Yeah, and to play Sirius Black and Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's good.
What
He's
else do you want?
good.
And Dracula. He was Dracula. I forgot
Was
about
he
that too.
Dracula?
Yeah, in the 90s. Yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
this guy's big time. Yeah, he's Gary Oldman. Anyway,
Love Gary Oldman.
okay,
well, let's begin to wind down.
Okay, I got
here.
one thing. This is the
One
last thing
thing?
we're probably
Last
talking
thing.
about. So you brought up conspiracy theories, and
okay, yeah.
I'm a nerd. I like going down those rabbit holes, and you took a class. So what is? I don't know if we're gonna make this. Technically, there's 2 segments I can go with it. Do you got any creepy stories or like a conspiracy theory that
anything
you're really
crazy? Anything crazy?
Because
Well, the one, I think the conspiracy theory that I probably believe in the most that we covered in the class is the COVID conspiracy theory, that it came from a lab. Because you look at the city in which COVID came from, Wuhan, right? Yeah. Wuhan has a lab that is specifically engineered to research gain of function, which is taking diseases, I think, in animals and putting them into humans, or vice versa, or however that goes. Yeah. But this lab, who is working with, specifically the COVID-19 specific variant, a couple of miles away, and it popped up in this market, right, in Wuhan, and there's only a couple of miles separating these two, and there's a river in there and whatever. Now, they did research on this to see if it was possible for a virus to travel from the institute to the market in a bat, but we don't know if the bat's real or not.
That's just
that's
major,
just
like,
what they. That's what
he was
it's
eating
assumed.
bat soup, and they said, well, maybe he got it from it, maybe he had it before the bat soup. We don't know. But again, even if it was a bat, I mean, if the bat was infected, got sick, you're telling me he can't fly a couple miles because he's out of his mind to a market where he, or wherever he gets, killed and died and turned into food? You telling me that can't happen? You're telling me it's in the same city, the same exact virus? We don't see this anywhere else in the world, and it comes from the same city?
Fuck, what's the one bit what's his face? He was on Stephen Colbert. He was like, is it just really weird? There's that laboratory there, and it just adds up all nice and neatly.
He caught a lot of heat for that.
I forgot who did it.
People
who said
labeled
it?
him for misinformation, and these days there's about 9 months that separates a conspiracy theory from fact. When Alex Jones says something, I'm not saying Alex Jones is right all the time.
I get that.
I'm not saying he's right all the
satire.
time. But when someone says something that's outlandish, and people say that's misinformation, you need to be canceled for spreading false narratives and false rumors and false information, whatever. 9 months later, you look back and something comes out.
Right.
Oh, looks like they were right.
Yeah.
It's kind of how the vaccines worked a little bit. They said, you know what? When you get this vaccine, you'll be cured. You'll be fine. You're not going to get this anymore. They come out a couple weeks later and say,
well,
I
got it twice.
You might get it, but the symptoms won't be as bad.
Yeah, it's true. Everything's just a constant test of like.
That's right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't get vaccinated or whatever, because obviously it helps. I'm vaccinated, and that's fine. But again, I don't want to force it onto people. Right. But again, the COVID thing, it's just a little suspicious. And I think a little bit down the line, we're going to find out that, oops, there could have been a leak.
I'll definitely say I don't really believe in conspiracy theories, but at the start of COVID, there was a lot of umbrella corporation kind of stuff going on.
That's
Resident
right.
Evil, I was like, there's some fishy, just a lot of corporations are just fishy. There's fishy. Mr. Beast is fishy.
Oh. Mr. Beast.
Caleb is like Mr. Beast.
I remember listening to that. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, it's just
Fishy,
it's weird.
fishy.
I won't lie. I guess this is where we're truly gonna leave off, because I always thought it would be personal. You're a friend in the friend group I would go to, or you're a close companion that I remember that I enjoyed in high school. So I would always say, how was those 2 years being separated from people and just kind of didn't getting the ending that we should have, that some people shit on. And if you think, get over it, fuck you, asshole. You got your day. Where's mine, bitch?
Yeah, you're right. We didn't have the Hollywood ending.
I wanted
high
to, bro.
school.
Fuck.
All of us
really did.
jumping together, high fiving, and it's
Right. We didn't get the Breakfast Club fist pump at the end of the movie. There was nothing like that.
I always thought we would, but we didn't.
We got graduation for me in the back of a truck, riding around, parading through the streets. You get your diploma and you're sent on your way, and you don't hear from anybody really ever again. And everybody kind of goes into their own isolated little world. We didn't have sports to watch. We didn't have new shows. We had the lion guy. What was this? Joe Exotic. What was that show?
Oh yeah, Tiger King.
Tiger King. Yeah, Tiger King. And you had The Last Dance. I didn't
Animal
get into Tiger
Crossing.
King. I thought it sucked. So I ended up getting into Game of Thrones with my dad.
Okay.
Actually, that was the first time we watched it. And so my schedule, after that initial break, and that initial break from everything, where everything was closed and everybody was social distance and everybody was kind of afraid. Then after a little while, you realize, hey, this probably isn't as deadly to us kids, so we're gonna go hang out.
Deuces, lose your shit.
And so we hung out with the friends, and that summer was fine, I think, because everybody was still hanging out to some extent, and you played Xbox when you weren't, or PlayStation or whatever, or on PC.
I like how you included everybody.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right. Or you want to play on your Switch? That's fine too. But then when the fall rolled around, and
That's where it
colleges said, across the country where my friends were going at that, my closest friends anyway, they're saying, we're gonna take you. You come to campus. Come on over to Florida or Kansas, where I had a friend go, or Idaho. Come on over, and we're gonna have classes in person, and we're gonna do all that. Where I'm going, they said we're gonna do the year online. So you're gonna stay home. Or you can come, but there ain't nobody gonna be here. You can stay. You stay home. We won't charge you for housing. You just get your classes. We'll do it online. It'll be Zoom, and that sucked. That wasn't any fun because most of my closest friends either went across the country, and they're in class, and so now your Friday and Saturday nights, and even weeknights in the summer turn into, well, I'm just gonna sit here and I guess watch Game of Thrones, which wasn't bad. I really enjoyed watching Game of Thrones with my dad. It was a great show. I'm going to sit here, and if people play Xbox, that's fine. But it's a lot more time spent on your own, right? And when you lose some of your friends to other colleges,
you become a different person.
Usually you gain some when you go to college yourself, and you're in this whole new atmosphere, and you're making friends left and right, and it's fine or whatever. But when you don't have that, and you're trying to hang on to things in the past, and people in the past who are moving on, you see their journey, and you see them making new friends, and you realize I am becoming more not obsolete, but a background character. That's fine, and you had a really good bond with that person.
Now it's gone.
They say when you love someone or something, you set it free, and I totally am a believer in that, 100%.
There you go.
And so it's nice to see people that are happy, but I feel like it sometimes comes at the expense of yourself, and in this case, sometimes myself. And so it was tough, and I got the job at the golf course, so my days generally consisted of playing golf, coming home, and watching Game of Thrones, and for a little while at least. And it wasn't. I didn't have it the worst. My mental health was fine. It wasn't the best it's ever been, but it was fine. I was the word that I'm getting across. The one word, fine. That's how it was. Just fine. It wasn't
fine. Means
it wasn't good.
It wasn't doom and gloom.
Fine.
It wasn't doom and gloom, but it wasn't jubilation. It's just fine.
That's a fucking interesting word. Jubilation.
Jubilation. It's somewhere in the middle. It's just fine. And I got through it. And now we're here. Now I'm going to college. I've met some new friends. Found a good community over there where I'm going. Got a little bit more involved in the faith, and it's been a good time. So I'm doing good.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Great to hear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I guess I can, since it was my question to answer, I won't lie. I talked to Caleb about it, and I was gonna go weepy there with Fry. I was feeling him there. Fry has a way with words with me, but it's like no. Every time Fry talks, I listen. Fry has a good voice.
Oh, thank you.
But with me, over those 2 years, I won't lie, I kind of went in. I wouldn't say depression, but I went into like a grind state. I think I'm finally feeling the effects of that. I've talked to Caleb personally.
I think me and Alex have had a pretty similar past 2 years. Yeah. Where
I made a persona, dude. That's bad.
It definitely affected like someone like you, Andrew, a lot more. Who's more of a social butterfly. You like the interaction with people a little more. Because I remember in high school, you were always with the people. You always had
always there.
You always liked the crowd. Me and Alex kind of more stuck to ourselves.
I only needed Caleb, honestly.
I tried to convince you guys to come.
I did come to a few. I did enjoy.
I regret it sincerely now, but
I did enjoy the times I went, but I'm not the most social person. I like talking to people. I like hanging out with people, but it's just I'm not the most social person.
But now it's different though. I like having barbecues and shit. Recently I had
now that I know I was missing this whole time, because I at least had the interaction that we had in school, that we could talk to each other.
took that shit for granted.
Now that it's gone, it's like, man, I kind of do miss hanging out with all these guys and talking with different people every day.
Now it's just the fucking grind. I'm not trying to be on it, but that's just how life goes.
Yeah, and everybody has their own coping mechanism, and you figure out ways to get through it, and everybody, like I said, does it differently, and you're going to wind up in different places, and you're going to change, and I think that's just a part of life. You see the people going to the other parts of the country, and they meet new people, and the people you're around change you, and when you're not around people, I think you can change yourself. You have to look inwards, and that's what a lot of people did during COVID, and they focused on making themselves better. But me, who, again, I like to talk to the people that I'm close with. I don't have a problem talking to people. I can go up to someone and ask how their day is or whatever. And when I have to turn that energy back in, then it becomes
who am I?
Then it becomes overthinking. And that was a problem for me, I think, even when COVID wasn't a thing. But then it becomes more of a problem when I'm spending more time by myself and I'm just thinking and thinking. And
when you said that, I felt that like hit my heart. I was like, that was me. That was me.
And I think it's a very common experience that a lot of people shared, because this energy and this focus and this time spent thinking about other people, suddenly you're thinking about yourself and what am I doing wrong? And really, you got to realize you're not doing anything wrong. You're fine just the way you are, and if someone wants to change you and you don't want to change that, if you like your qualities about yourself, which you all should, and again, some people need to change these days, need to change their mindset, need to change certain things about them. But for a vast majority of the people we grew up with, no, you're fine. You're fine just the way you are, and I think people need to realize that a little bit more.
There you fucking go. That's
Fry.
A fucking way to end it, Fry. I'm jealous. Shit.
Yeah, great way to end this episode off.
There you go.
Thank you all for watching. This is going to be a little longer of an episode.
But no, it was good. This is the best one.
Great episode.
I
love this.
Fucking Fry's
coming back.
Yeah.
Fry is coming back. Colby, you unplugged the Roadcaster. You've been bumped underneath Fry.
Bumped underneath Colton.
Colton's
always doing. He's always a party.
So, thank you all for watching.
Yes,
Alex, have any last words?
As the recording of this video, I'm about to almost hit 50K. I'm about almost
nice.
Hey, congratulations. That's big time, by the way. I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
Like a little girl every time. Bro. Okay, not to drag it out any further, but Jarrett to me said that when we were a little bit partying, and I kind of almost cried a little bit when he said that. But I'm always thankful that my friends and stuff, the people that I call friends, or even really great people, just say, hey, the YouTube journey's still going, and that's the grind, and I'm proud of it. It's always good. So as of the recording of this, I'm almost there. I'd like to say thank you to anybody who, more or less the high school friends watch this, so thank you for that. I'm probably going to post a lot of it on Snapchat. I'll probably even give like a little speech or whatever on Snap or even on Twitter, but we're still going. I'm proud on your journey. I'm proud of Kale. I'm proud of Colton's. Any future guests we bring on too, I hope to see growth. And hey, sometimes, it's always good to have a little a therapy session, I guess. I had that on episode 5, and I know we joke around about it, but I've tried to at least.
That was a real episode. That was real.
It's always good to hear people like Andrew say, "Hey, just keep on going."
That's right. That's what you got to do.
Always,
you put your faith in yourself or in something else, and you just keep on going.
Fucking yeah.
There you go.
Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow us on our social medias. I don't know if we're gonna put Fries or if he wants anything down there.
Do you have anything you want to share?
One thing I should say. If you guys want any intros or outros.
Previously on Totally Oblivious.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Awesome.
We can do like
Totally Oblivious is produced by Caleb Perez and Alex Pruneda.
Dude, we need to get...
Whatever you guys need, I can do it for you.
Bro, we can have like that little bumper. I have to show you on Flagrant, but fuck yeah, Fry. Yeah, I want that. That's badass.
Here's your host, Caleb Perez.
Fry just has a way.
And co-host Alex Pruneda.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Fry, you're just great, man. You're just great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you guys for watching.
Deuces.
Peace out, guys.
Deuces.